Okay, I'm live. And I just sent out the link to Greg and he replied, so he should be joining us any moment. I might as well get everything sent out onto the other social media pages. Get that done first and foremost. Try to get a few peeps to join in here. This should actually be a pretty good conversation. I'm looking forward to this one. What's this? Any rules on your show? No? I just sort of, he asked if the swearing was allowed on. Yeah, go right ahead. Yeah, I'm all about the freedom of speech and saying things that people don't like to hear. I get that all the time. I've had that so many times in the past, actually. I love everything you say. I agree with everything you say, but damn, I hate that the fact that you swear, so I just can't watch your stuff. Really? That's where you cut me off. I say words you don't like. That's weird. That's weird. So throw out the other 99.9% of the positivity for that 0.1% of something that you don't like. Yeah, that sounds pretty typical though these days, doesn't it? Right? That does, doesn't it? Seems very typical in so many ways. All right, let me okay, I see the YouTube side of things is working. Sent out on Minds. Sent out on the Twitterverse. Once again, the dumpster fire. Stay away from the heat. Twitter. But hey, a lot of people on Twitter, right? So, right. And that's the thing. I'm not trying to function in an echo chamber. So I still try to, promote my stuff on some of these big platforms, hoping that maybe some people will be interested in joining into these conversations, or at least listen to the ones that are taking place. And like I say, I'm looking forward to this chat with Greg. Oh, by the way, before it actually even comes on here, I'll even do a preemptive promotion for Greg, because he's got a nice little website they got set up here. Let me just show you folks here real quick. Oh, wait, now I closed up my Facebook, and that's the only way to communicate with him in case he's having any issues get on. So I better leave that open just in case. But yeah, let me show you. Share screen. Open tab. There we go. I hope I got this right. I should have waited for Greg to get on there, because I'm pretty sure that this is his page. Oh, wait. No, that's me. Never mind. That's me. Yeah, that's me showing. So made by the people for the people. Does it not show up the top with the actual? I guess you can't go up far enough. But yeah, it's mind your business. Mind your damn, just DAM. Oh, there it is right there. Duh. Mindyourdamnbusiness.com. And like I said, they've been doing a really good job at putting the site together. You got featured products. So you got some merchandise. Fuck Trudeau. I like it. I like it a lot. Right? The Beaver Army t-shirt. You got to like that. The Canada United. That sounds really good. I just wish we could actually get to having Canada United. Actually, there are a lot of Canadians who are united, but usually what I'm seeing today is against liberty. That's the scary part. There's a lot of uniting going on, but it seems to be the wrong people with the wrong intentions. We got here. See, are you live now? Yep. Yes, sir. Yes, I am. Come on in. Oh, let me wait and see what he's saying here. Yeah, we'll do the whole checking out his page together, actually. So let me just see what he's replying with here. Give me a moment. Okay. Actually, I probably should close up my YouTube side of things here, because try to use the minimal. Oh, I guess he didn't reply, but he's seen it. So yeah, just come right on there, Greg, if you can see me, man. Just come right in. I just click on that link and join me, my friend. Join in to the party. It's right now. It's a party of one. Yeah. anyways, so let me maybe, yeah, like I say, I'm just going to hold off here. Hey, wait, I can do this though. While we're waiting, mind your business, damnbusiness.com. Like I say, I've always been the type of person. I like to help people out, help promote and do a little advertising for them if I can. I do that for lots of folks in Canada. Unfortunately, that doesn't seem to always be returned or in kind. Greg's great for that. Greg's a good guy in terms of that. But there's quite a few Canadians that I've helped to promote and boost their channels and their presence, their online presence and stuff. And not much appreciation, it seems. But hey, all is well, I guess. Join me. Join me, Greg. All you got to do is click on that link there, buddy. I wonder if should I see? Maybe let me take this. Let me take this off. Actually, we'll hold off. We'll hold off in case I have a problem or something seeing him to join in. The Dangerous Delusion. Oh, yeah, that was another thing by the Canada Files. I'm going to deal with that too. There was the Canada Files, the Dangerous Delusion of Basic Income. And I thought, oh, someone else that understands liberty. But no, there's other reasons why this person's against guaranteed basic income. But you know what? Hey, if we agree on the same thing, how you get to that point, well, I suppose it does matter somewhat. But, and yeah, really in the way it kind of does. But if we end up in the same place, taking the same stance, then maybe that could prove to be a positive thing at the end of the day. Just waiting on Greg here. Just okay. Oh, there he is. There he is. What's going on, Greg, man?
What's going on, Bennett?
Why am I not hearing sound? Oh, I know why. I know why. I switched over to my other speakers. That's why. Just give me a moment. You could probably hear me, but
yeah, I can hear you.
Hear you yet? There we go. Let's see. Here we are. Say something there, Greg.
Yep. Hello?
Perfect. Yep. We're perfect. Right on. Actually, while I was waiting, I was going to try to promote your website there, the Mind Your Damn Business. But I thought, well, I might as well wait till Greg gets on before I do that. Because it's a great little site. Actually, I see that you definitely we're heeding some advice and did some improvements on it and everything. Everything looks pretty good. So let me just actually, now that you're here, let me just bring that back up for everyone. So because I wanted to at least let everyone know about your site first and foremost. Okay, share screen, bring that back up. Mind your damn business. I like that. I do. I like it. I should have that as a bumper sticker, actually.
I make them.
Yeah, right on. Good to know. But anyway, so you can see that, right, Greg?
Yeah.
On the screen. Okay, perfect. So and I guess there's 8 people here already. So we'll start going on. So yeah, made by the people for the people, and as you can see, folks, mind your damn business. And let me just scroll down here. So, like I say, it's looking really good. You got the featured product, fuck Trudeau. Like I was saying a little earlier, fuck Trudeau. You gotta like that. I mean, what's not to like about that? That's worth the $20 alone, right? Hell, keep the T-shirt. Even hearing it said is basically almost. And then you got, of course, the Beaver Army. That's a great one too. And of course, this is the problem that I love the idea of the Canada Unite T-shirt. And maybe we get enough people wearing them, we'll actually start to see that united. Because unfortunately, Greg, and that's the thing. I've actually I got another gentleman I'm going to be talking with tomorrow. Is I'm seeing a lot more division these days than the unity, and that's what's driving me nuts. Actually, like I say, we can. You want me to finish promoting this, and then we can kind of go on to talk about that, or do you want to just segue right into talking about the disarray of unitedness, or what do you want to do there, man?
Well, I'll just tell you about the website. It was meant to be built to unite patriots,
right?
If you remember when I reached out to you, I wanted to bring together everybody's podcast under one little tent, and so people can go one place and see everybody.
Yeah.
But the way things have gone in the last couple days, between groups, it seems like everyone's trying to play hero and no one wants to actually embrace help and come together. It's actually really frustrating me. Like it's really pissing me off.
Me too. Actually, I'm just going to pull this off. I'll go back to it. I'm just going to pull it off now so I can bring us right back up. But I'm the same way as the other gentleman. What was his name? I'm going to be talking with him tomorrow. Let me just double check here. What Cody
Holler?
Yeah, that's it. I'm going to be talking to him tomorrow. I watched a couple of his videos, and he was basically talking about, and you know, some of the points he was bringing up really hammered home with me. And once again, the best thing for us to do, this is the thing. Yeah, we can sit here and speculate and talk past each other, but to me, let's bring everyone together and hammer out these things so that we can get some semblance of understanding. Because I'll tell you, from my perspective, and even for you, Greg, I like you. Obviously, we don't know each other from a whole personally. So my big thing is, if you don't know people personally, all you really have to rely on is like their online presence, their past, what they did, like I guess their reputation. There's very little that we actually have to go by. And as we understand, a lot of people are very opportunistic. So I'm apprehensive towards a lot of people just by natural instinct, because you don't know what people's motives are, right? Their underlying motives, because there's a lot of people who will try to cause more disarray and division. And that does seem to be the rule of thumb, especially for the people that want to maintain the status quo, is if you can keep everybody fighting with each other, well, they just fucking get away with doing whatever the hell they want, right? So to me, I want to get to the point where we're talking about what is this division about? Where did it come about? And I don't know, what's some of your initial thoughts on that, Greg?
Well, my thought is, as being a libertarian as you, and you've probably noticed yourself, you're never going to agree on everything in a patriot movement, because people have there's such a broad spectrum in the libertarian movement and the patriot movement. There's people that want pure anarchy to people who want to change the system within.
Right.
It doesn't mean you're anything less of a patriot. You recognize the system is broken. You just have different ideas on how to change it. So, but people are so stuck on their own ideas that they don't want to embrace the other ideas. Now, the way I look at things is there's two types of people, as I just said. There's activists, and then there's people who want to change the system within.
Right. To
me, these people need to work together, because once you bring down a system, you need a system to bring up. Right. And I think activists, they're great. They're needed, but I think they're too emotional.
Right.
Whereas I think people who want to change the system within are actually a little more reasonable, and they're able to do that next step. Right. But if you push these people away, then they're just going to go on their own and say, fuck you. I'm just going to try to change the system within without you, because I don't actually really need you, because you are just being an activist, but you don't have a plan. Like I read Cody's and the Canadian Revolution plan, and it sounds good, but there is a lot of holes. Yeah. Right. Like their solution is to take a territory and become sovereign. Well, what about the people who don't want to leave Canada that live in that territory already? Yeah. What happens with that in their private property? And as a libertarian, private property is huge for me. Yeah. So there's a lot. See, that's where the people who want to change it within recognize, well, look, we're all Canadian, and the system is broken, but we can help. We can fix it. And how do you fix it? Well, the house is meant for the people, so we need to get people that are for the people in the house to make that change. Now, so we need to recognize why the problem started in the first place as well, right? So we had two major parties, conservative and liberal. They swing whichever way the votes are going to go. Yep. So what happened was you had people like Elizabeth May and Jagmeet Singh who were activists. They did their activists to get in the House, to make changes within the House. So now you have three left parties, the Green Party, NDP Party, and the Liberal Party. So the Green Party and NDP Party stole left votes from the Liberal, pushing the Liberal Party further left. Yeah. And then what happened with the Conservative parties, they try to steal votes back, so they go further left. Yeah. So we need more right-hand parties in the House to push that pendulum back the other way, right? So that's how I see it's going to work. It's either that or we go to war.
Okay, can I give you some serious pushback on that? And I think, actually, tell you the truth, because you seem like a very reasonable guy, that actually none of that has basically, and I would bet my life literally on that none of that has any chance of success. Why? Because you're talking about politics. And what is politics at the end of the day? But people who want to pick up that mystical gun in the room, because government is a representation of force. And what it is everyone's trying to wrestle the gun from each other and take control of that kind of power. Now, sure, you and I might disagree with certain people. Like, okay, I might trust this person with that much power. Although personally, I'll just say for me, I wouldn't even trust myself with that power. So I have to actually remove myself entirely from this belief that you can give anybody that power. To me, the biggest defiant thing, and what really irks me with all these activists or politicians or former government employees turned politicians, is politics is never, ever, ever, ever. I mean, you can keep trying. I mean, like I say, it might be new for us people today. 20 years ago, 30 years ago, everyone's been trying the same thing. And every time the voting season comes around, everyone's like, no, we just got to get, but all you end up having, because without the culture, to me, you're literally telling people that the only thing that at the end of the day that matters is a show of force or taking over control of that. So all people are going to be doing all the time is looking to use force against each other. And that's why each time it changes hands, whether it's from the Liberals, the Conservatives, the NDP, it's just, using that political opportunism to maybe benefit themselves in some way, but also to punish their opponents. Where at what you want, what you properly want, and why the founding fathers of the U.S., the only reason why that experiment even worked, well, first of all, they had somewhere to actually start a whole new thing, but there was kind of already structures there, because the 13 colonies were already like 13 mini states anyways to start with. But it was the Enlightenment era ideas. Without those as the foundational principles and a population, a citizenry had a healthy dose of Christianity and the morals and ethics that resounded and originated from those religious teachings, and with those amazing ideas that were put forth and promoted by people in not just media, but positions of power and influence, philosophers, people, in the legal professions, all these people. That's what created the culture. So you had a culture that was already well adapted to those great ideas. Whereas if they had tried it just playing pure politics, well, it would have started, the founding fathers and the entire American experiment would have basically ended after the very first, because it would have been just a simple matter of, okay, who's going to control? And basically it almost did start that way, but there was enough residue left over of those Enlightenment era ideas, and it was still fresh enough in enough of the people's minds that they realized that the culture was more accepting and adopting of these ideas. But you and I, here's the thing, whether it's you, me, I don't know if you want to talk about Mark Friesen or these other guys, nobody, I don't care what your ideas are, what you stand for, none of them is going to mean anything, because we are people that, when we're talking, even if we took everyone that voted for the PBC, everyone that has ever voted for the Libertarian Party of Canada, we still wouldn't even represent 1% of the population. So we're still people that are talking about how we can do this thing. And even when you're talking about it in the political realm, but meanwhile, we still have 99% of the population that will never get on board, because the system is not just that the system is corrupt. The system is corrupt because the majority of the Canadian people benefit. For you and I, maybe not so much. For me that wants to hold myself to a really ridiculously high ethical and moral standard, this system doesn't work for me, because as much as I realize theft and forced wealth redistribution and the CERB, like I could have put on a fucking big thing and got my $2,000 check. I chose to continue to be poor for all these months while everyone else is out spending money. How many people are like me? 9 million Canadians, as soon as there was a potential of getting that government largesse, boom, ran right to the trough, right? That was where they went to. So there's 9 million Canadians at least that, try to convince them to turn away from their own self-interest. Like I say, politics is never, and like I say, if we're all waiting for politics or politicians or any kind of political movement to change this country, well, I guarantee the first thing will happen will be the entire, what will actually truly affect the change is when the society breaks down to the point where now you have like genuine civil conflict or outright civil war. So I don't want to wait to that point. To me, he is.
I've said that. I've said this like at pretty much every show I've done that Canada, we're so, what's the word? I don't know. We're Canada as a whole. We're so in dreamland that we think, like, how many times have we? Well, it will never happen here.
Yeah, exactly.
Right.
I'm just one person, right?
Right. Well, you know, like, oh, well, look at Venezuela, look at North Korea, look at all these places. Well, it will never happen here.
Oh, okay. That.
But you know what I mean? So, people, it can. I'm sure if you asked a Venezuelan 30 years ago, they would say the same thing. It will never happen here.
Yep.
Trust me, it takes one politician, one guy to get in power to change it and drag us down. So I've said at every show, Canada almost needs to hit rock bottom before people wake up.
Yeah, well,
they need their fridges empty, their freezers empty, and starving babies for people to be like, wait a minute. It happened here. Shit.
Right.
Right.
Right. So, well, you're right. You're absolutely right. And that may very well be the case. But to me, the thing that it's always piqued my interest. And the reason why I continue to do what I do today and where I just haven't given up entirely is because humans have never experienced living in the age of information where you actually have access to basically the entirety of your population from the old to the young almost in real time, at the speed of light. So this is something, like I say, even when you think back to the Gutenberg press, like, and how much that expanded the layman's mind in terms of understanding some of the concepts that we today, like the internet age is like that on steroids. So to me I think the analysis, although that pessimism, to get into that pessimistic mode is so counterproductive. I would rather think positive, even though I realize that it's a pretty slim chance. I would like to think in this modern world that we can, and it doesn't require a large percentage. You don't need a majority, even like I say, 3 to 5%. But if you have even 3 to 5% of your population who are, so whether it's like the military people who are disenfranchised with the way it's done, or whether it's the police or sick and tired of the citizens looking at them as enemies because they have to keep enforcing rules and laws that are absolutely fucking bullshit, or the people who are punished by these people needlessly, like myself, and now have a lot of anger and resentment towards that entire class of people because that's what they do every day. But what it is, and that's the beautiful thing about the philosophy of liberty is, yeah, we all have personalities. We all are individuals, like you were saying earlier, and we're all going to have different things we bring to the table. But the one thing I've always 100% been willing to unite under is not a person. It's not a man. It's not a woman. It's the idea. And the main and the most important idea that underpins the philosophy of liberty is the very real and 100% provable fact. I've done it as many people as ever trying to challenge me on it. Not one person so far has actually done so, which tells you how powerful this idea is, that government is actually wholly illegitimate. Now, are we going to need government in the interim before humanity turns away from statism? Yeah. Just like you said, just like Nietzsche realized back in the day. Yeah. Once we eliminate the concept of God in terms of gaining our morals or ethics, well, what has replaced it? The state. So even Nietzsche realized that we should have had something to replace it before we tear it down. So as a libertarian, and which is why me and Tim Mullins are great friends, because we've talked about this so many times. Politics is going to have to be there because people still believe in politicking, right? So, but the only way you're going to get people to show up to the booths, the polling booths, and do the right thing is to vote against their own best interests, to take principled positions, if you give them the genuine understanding of what government represents. If you just keep playing the game where it's, damn, we just got to get rid of this team and replace them with this team, or get rid of these two teams and just replace them with this team, until we break people out of that mold, out of that mindset, like I say, it's always going to be forever this back and forth of who can gain that power to benefit themselves at someone else.
And that's where activists like Cody and the Canadian Revolution are good, because they can educate the masses without control, right? So like,
Yeah.
Now the thing is, why you were talking about the information age and the internet and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
The problem I'm seeing with human nature, with the internet and the information age, and how easy everything's becoming, is people are becoming lazy. So it's really easy for these people in Silicon Valley and the government to get together and just control what information is fed to you and what information is not fed to you, as we're seeing on Facebook, Twitter, and YouTube and all these other social platforms that are all on the same page. So that's a problem as well. If people don't actually get off their asses and actually research both sides and everything themselves, they're just going to be continually fed CBC and global bullshit, then they're never going to wake up, right? It has to physically affect them, those people, for them to wake up. Yeah, because they're just going to be fed right into it. And those are the people that everything's racist, everything's you're a homophobe, or that's those people. You know what I mean? Oh my God, you're selfish for not wearing a mask, or oh my God, you're going to kill everybody. Those are the global CBC people that actually need to start starving to death before they wake up, because they're such sheep right now. It's crazy how the information age has made people into zombies. And
but it actually shows you how this works. It's just like, and I've said this so many times before, unfortunately, most people are followers, not leaders. Most people prefer to follow rather than to lead, and because it's actually
easier.
It's much easier, and actually, even strategically, it keeps you in less not in the line of fire, right?
That's right.
The guy that leads, you're the first one that's going to get knocked down. So a lot of people, let me stay back here. I'll be in the reserves, thanks, right? Or put me in the row C or D.
You'd be surprised how many times I get told by my buddies, "Fuck, one day you're going to get assassinated," just for you talk too much. Right?
Well, for 10 years, I've been hearing people saying, "Man, I don't know why you would do that. You're bringing so much." But you know what? To me, it's yes, there are potential threats, there are potential dangers, but that's just what it is to live life, right? There's potential threats and dangers. And if I'm going to die from something, I can think of a whole lot more or worse reasons to die than someone standing for liberty and stand in defiance against authoritarians. Like, I don't know. I mean, you got to put something on a man's tombstone. That's a pretty good one. Right? So it's not the end of the world as far as I'm concerned. Of course, I don't want to. And of course, I would always be proactive and doing anything to defend myself. But like I say, anyway, so getting back to basically what I was trying to allude to is, so because the ideas are what matters most, and it's like I say, it's an intellectual development, because revolution, that's history. And revolutions, you would like to think that your guy or your team during the revolution is going to take control and everything's going to unfold exactly how you want it. It's never happened in history that way, unfortunately, because there's always going to be people that are going to, like I say, try to get people to agree on things is impossible. So the only thing, like I say, is that libertarian brings to the table that you don't have to worry about whether they come from the left, the right, is those ethical and very, not just moral principles, but so universally consistent that nobody can really deny them. So self-ownership, property rights, and the non-aggression principle. You will find very few people, even if you never mention the term libertarian, if you just walked up to any stranger in Canada, with the very few exceptions, you said, "Do you believe that I have the right to own myself, that I should never be owned or a subject, slave, or serf to any ruling class or master?" Right? Of course, they're all going to tell you. Very few people. You might find the odd nut bar that would say no, right? And I'm sure they can exist, but that person is a real fucking, like, you want to talk a minority? That's a minority.
When you put them on the spot and make them think about it, they usually say, "No, I'm myself," right? They like to believe they're their self, but that may not be the case all the time. But
exactly. But most people, like I say, other than me and Tim Owen and a very select few other people, but of course me and Tim Owen and these other select few, I have never had any issue with.
Yeah, me either.
And we've been doing this, and like I say, we've been doing this. I personally, like I say, in excess of 10 years of talking about and I mean, expanding on the knowledge, not pivoting or changing, just expand on the knowledge. Now, I have actively participated, like I helped the PBC because I wanted to give away so that if there was any semblance, to me, that was a way of gauge just where exact Canada's at, right? Because you see this happening around all these different places in different countries around the world. and where this upstart party comes up and boom, they get instant success. But what that tells you when you see that take place is the culture was yearning for it. The culture was desperate for it. They were already there waiting in the wings. Just give me the option. So the PPC showed with clarity, was given a completely new slate, a new option for Canadians, and what the fuck happened, right? I mean, 300,000 of us that are kind of disenfranchised with the current system, but the overwhelming majority of them were just looking to get rid of the establishment. They didn't have any idea in terms of replacing with anything, right? So this is the problem. So that was actually a perfect example where politics is not, and to show you that even Maxime lost his seat, it shows you that politics in Canada, unfortunately, because of the culture of at least since I've been alive for almost 50 years now, the culture has been completely geared towards collectivism, denying the individual his right, completely dissolving any pretense of God being the ultimate authority, the ultimate morality. And now the state, that's why everyone sees the state as their holier benevolent God these days. And that is the biggest problem, is everyone's going to look like they're just going to automatically gravitate to politics, which once again is not going to help. So the leaders of liberty in this country, I mean, everyone wants to punch way above their weight. And once again, I'm all for it. Listen, I wouldn't even care to tell you the truth if someone else could show that they're vastly superior in their understanding the concepts regarding the philosophy of liberty, and they have had a much bigger platform or position and could say that to more people and I'd be like, okay, I'll kind of hang back in the wings. But over these 10 years, like I still see those small minority of people like myself that are still talking about the things that properly need to be talked about. But every time we try to get anywhere close to where we're starting to get people's minds thinking about these things critically, it reverts back. People come in. I don't know who these people are. And like I say, I'm not making no accusation. I just don't know. So I'm functioning in the dark in terms of knowing what are the reasons. But it does seem really weird that every time we get close to even trying to get this little grassroots movement start to grow and flourish, someone steps in to kind of make it into a political freaking thing. And then the people that were the leaders of liberty, like myself, are kind of shuffled into the back room somehow. And nobody watches my video. Like, I don't know if you remember, thousands of people used to watch my videos. Now I do well if I get a couple. Well, so now it's not the ideas that matter. It's everyone fighting. Well, we just got to get rid of Trudeau. So they're back to playing the politics again, or it's the globalists. And of course, I'm against globalism, but I'm worried about the immediate threat right here in my backyard before I'm worried about the threat that's thousands of miles away. Right. So anyway, what's your thoughts on that?
Well, I think, to begin with, like, people who, like you say, the people who ran for the PPC, they were disenfranchised people, right? But like it is politics. Everything is politics, whether way you look at it. Like Tim Moen says, you're still going to need some sort of government once you get rid of the government. So it's still going to be politics in the end. But what is the idea of your politics, right? What is your politics? Do you want the state to be your moral ground, or do you want the individual to be your moral ground? But it's still politics. It's still the ideas, right?
No, but philosophy is the pursuit of truth. That's why I like, to me, the politics is basically people fighting over blue or red, because the philosophy is the
in this country it is right now, but not in my mindset. My mindset is politics is debating ideas, right? It's not control. And this is my opinion, what politics should be, right? Like, it should be the debate of ideas to represent people, right? What ideas do the people have that they want represented?
Don't you think that's how we end up in the position we're in today? Because if you believe that politics, because that's, once again, but it's a provable fact that government is this pretense that people claim ownership over a geographical area. It's so politics is exactly force. Government is force. That is, it's a representation of force. So you just always got to, when you're talking about politics, just always understand and keep the concept of what you're talking about is using threats of force. When should threats of force be used towards your counterparts in your country or your fellow man or woman? So the politics is saying, well, we should use it for healthcare, or we should use it for that. which as a libertarian, as a philosophical libertarian, is no, we shouldn't use force.
No, we should use it, right?
Only for defensive purposes. And that's basically how the minarchist state in the US was founded, is they left that little bit out there because they realized, well, we're going to end up with a state regardless, because they weren't quite developed enough to eliminate the state entirely. So what they were doing is, okay, we're going to create the concept of the state. We're going to maintain that concept, but we're going to write these documents that are so well defined and so articulate that it's going to greatly restrict where we use that force. Now, if we could even get remotely close to a minarchist, and we had everyone talking about a minarchist state, a night watchman state, where basically the only thing that government was ever used for was to arbitrate disputes, right, and have a way to protect
individual rights.
Yeah, exactly. But like I say, that is not what we're dealing with. Like, that's what I mean. That's why, like, the politics is not going to work until you get people until people understand what government is properly. Then, like I say, you're never going to convince enough people to make the right choices. And it'll always it's always going to end up being, well, this is a lesser of evil. Because the only thing that if it's always promoting of evil or accepting of evil, which is what the state represents, because it's using force for anything, is if you're constantly allowing that, then people will always, just natural incentive, they're going to want to, if they know their opponent's going to want to pick up that gun and use it to economically enslave them or to control them socially, well, they're going to try to do the exact same thing. And like I say, I've watched that unfold for like my whole life, and I've seen actually there's never been one time, and I've heard the arguments put forth many times in the past even, I've never seen one time where it actually benefited, where we gained more liberties. The liberties are constantly being eroded. So, like I say,
well, anytime a state gets involved in anything, someone's losing their rights somewhere.
Yeah.
Right? Like, because we don't all agree on everything. Never, ever were we going to agree on everything. Right. So you may think this law is good, but this person's not. So, like, if someone's going to lose their rights somewhere. So, so as you said, that piece of paper, like a constitution, Canada definitely needs a better constitution. Like that's a good start, right? Like the Bill of Rights and Free, or whatever this bullshit's called, it's not what it is. It's a bill of how can I fuck you and take your rights from you. Right? Like, just ask natives about this fucking thing, this piece of paper. So the Indian Act, like, that's it, the Indian Act. The Indian Act was, they portrayed it as a moral thing for the natives, but it was just a control thing for the natives, and it still is to this day. Yeah. But if you want to look how a socialist state works, go to a reserve. Mm-hmm. See how well you like it, because they don't. Yeah. Yeah. That's true. So,
but what, like you were saying about the Constitution, what the Constitution is, though, if you think about it, all that Constitution are the ideas that were residing in these Enlightenment era figures, right? It was the ideas, but put on parchment so that people could understand it, read it, and get a grasp or firm understanding. So really, whether it's done written on paper or just you or I taking advantage of, like I say, having a YouTube channel or a Facebook page, or like I say, even if you don't trust some of the big players, which I don't necessarily, but I do know that I can still say stuff. They have not shut me down entirely. Until that happens and I can say stuff, then I'm still going to use these. But I still, like, you can go to Minds, you can go to Gap. I mean, there's all kinds of alternatives if they ever do get to the point where they bring the hammer down hard and they just totally wipe us out on the big platforms. It's like, well, I'm just right over here. Just like when people say, well, I don't watch your YouTube channel anymore because I don't get notified. Well, my channel's been here all along. All you literally have to do is go to Canadian Libertarians. Like, oh, look, he's still there. It's like, so, right?
Well, we saw that with Alex Jones when YouTube and everybody banned him. His channel, his website became the biggest website in the world at that point, because everybody who listened to him just went there. So like, that's why, like, I think if these companies are dumb, right, and they're thinking too emotional and too political right now and not economic, because if they push out half their audience, they're going to go somewhere like BitChute or somewhere like that, right? It's just a matter of time that people are going to get sick of not being able to see the content they want, and they're going to go. It's just where they want to. So,
hold on there, Greg. Listen, I promised to have this chat with you, but I just see that Mark is actually in the chat, and he just posted a donation so I would notice it, because I haven't really been paying attention to the chat, but he's asking to be brought on. Would you be cool with me bringing him on, or do you want me, or I could tell him to wait?
Nope, Mark can come on. That's cool.
All right, cool. Like I say, I know I promised to talk to you, but like I say, if we can get everyone kind of talking about this stuff, then that'd be a good idea. But yeah,
I'm down with a chat for sure.
Okay, let me see then. Where I'm just trying to remember how. Must be on Facebook. I can't even remember last time. No, Twitter, I think, is last, or for messages for Mark, I believe. It's been a while, so I gotta check. But
I'm guessing you're talking about Mark Friesen.
Yeah.
Sorry. I know a couple Marks in the movement.
Oh, sorry.
So.
Sorry. I should have mentioned that. But you can see it down. I thought you might have seen it yourself on the down in the chat there. But
no.
Mark, for all of this, I see. For all of it, that's the Canadian Canada.
I have a buddy, Mark Snow, that's in the movement, in the Liberty. I don't know if you know Mark Snow. If you don't, you should get to know him. He's very he's a veteran, and he's run for the Liberty. He used to be the vice president of the Libertarian Party of Ontario.
Oh, really? Oh,
yeah.
Okay, right on.
Yeah, he's a very, very smart man. He actually still works for the government, which is funny. But he's a guy you should talk to. He's a very, very, very smart man.
All right, I'm going to have to try on Facebook because it wasn't on there. It must have been maybe through my Canadian Libertarian channel. We've communicated before, maybe. Just give me a minute there, Mark. I'm trying to get to figure out how we've actually. Let me see. Maybe he knows. Have you said anything yet? No. Okay, so just 1 sec. I'm trying to figure.
Mark was on Facebook 5 minutes ago, so.
Yeah, well, like I say, I've communicated with so many people over the years. I've got so many people like in the inbox on Facebook and Twitter, and I just can't remember. Like sometimes I communicate with other people through the Minds message thing. So I gotta figure out, like I say, where I. Okay.
Like I said, this is what the frustrating part was for me about all this bickering, to get back to the point here.
Yeah.
Like I know I've talked to all these people personally, and I love them and I love all their ideas, and it's just so frustrating to see them fight over such little, squabbles that can be dealt with after, we fix the main problem. We all agree we don't want communism. We all agree we don't want socialism. So let's concentrate on that.
Yeah, really.
First, right? Like
that means I agree 100%. That's got to be the most important thing, is you worry about like I say, the only things that we should be all be willing to unite under is the fact that government as it is, or even in any way, is an institution of force and violence. So let's inform the people properly so that they're going to make right decisions. Because if we just give them a political narrative so that they'll vote for you, you're not going to end up with the proper population that's going to make the wise, informed decisions. And unless you want to constantly be leading people around by their hand all the time, or smacking them, or using the carrot and stick approach at every junction regarding every topic and every subject or every matter that governments like, that's what you'll have to do if you play the politics. But if you get people's minds, if you get them intellectually developed in their mind so they understand these things properly, then you don't have to. It's just like raising your kids. Teach them to stand on their own 2 feet. Then you don't have to constantly be dragging them by the hand or driving them around, or
like the other thing I would love to see, and like I would ask everybody to do, if you do have a disagreement with someone in the movement, don't post it on Facebook. Don't post videos talking bad about other people. Talk to them personally. Talk to them privately. And that other person I'm hoping, would be open to talk to that person privately, or get out of it completely if you're not. Because all it does is create division with people that aren't even involved in the squabble in the first place. And, you see it, like, this person will post a video, and then all his friends list are like, yeah, fuck that person, fuck him, fuck. And then you see this person post a reply video, and all his followers, yeah, fuck that person. He doesn't even know what he's talking about. Fuck him. Right? Yeah. What good is that doing?
Oh, there we go. Okay, we got him.
what good is that doing at all for anybody?
Not,
Nobody.
not good at all.
If you kept it private and worked it out private, then no one else would get involved and know any better and just think everything's hunky dory, right? And everything can be hunky dory. We're all adults, right? We all can. It's just so frustrating that sometimes people act like little 5-year-olds because
very frustrating. Well, especially now, listen, it'd be different if we had tons of time, we're only in the very early stages of the degradation of our society. Be like, yeah, you can play these games, but yeah, like literally, like when you're approaching like a fucking cliff and it's like literally just right over there. I can see it from here.
That cliff just got closer with Freeland being our finance minister. Let's not fuck around here, because she's a yes lady for Trudeau. Why Morneau? As much as he's a criminal and should be in jail, he, in the end, against the green contracts, was standing up to some of this spending. Whereas Freeland, holy fuck, Freeland's just like, yep, here, as long as you fucking give me whatever job that's going to pay me more money, I'll say yes all day. And she's already pushing this green shit because she doesn't give a fuck about us. She just wants her notoriety and fucking power. Just like Trudeau. And we're in bigger trouble with Freeland than we were with Morneau, as sad as that fucking is. But it's true.
It's on its own, but you're right, yeah. Go ahead there, Mark.
Hey, man. How's it going?
Hey, Mark.
Not bad. Trying to get some stuff sorted out. I'm glad you actually came and asked to be brought on. Actually, tell you the truth, it's a good thing you did the little donation thing, because I don't know. I don't pay attention to the chat when I'm right in the conversation. But, yeah, go ahead. So
I'm the same way. Yeah, so it's been a while, but it's good to
connect I'm curious about that.
So yeah, interesting. So we talk about unity, and I don't know if you watched my stream, Bennett, but judging by your comments on Facebook yesterday, I'm assuming you don't. So, anyways, I'm going to give you my opinion, so we don't work on assumptions. For a long time, I've been promoting. And there's reasons why, but I've been promoting the idea, because as you say, and I agree with almost everything you've said so far in this discussion today, because there are a set of core values that most, I would say 90% of Canadians share, right? And those core values are freedom, liberty, and justice. I would think those three, we can all agree that are values that most of us share. Anybody who doesn't share those values, they're communists, right? And those are, for me, they're out of the equation. I don't deal with them.
But when you say that, Mark, let me just before you go any further, just because that's a great thing to point. But you said 99%. You think everyone 90. That voted for or 90? Do you think everyone that voted for Trudeau has those same goals?
I do. Actually, I think so. But I think they have a weird understanding of how they're going to protect and promote those values. I think those people actually believe that Trudeau is going to represent those values in a weird and twisted way. And we have to identify to those people why the Liberals and why the establishment outside the Liberals don't support and actually promote those values. We have to educate the masses. Listen, I said a couple of times in the chat, and I believe this to the core, that politics is downstream from culture. If you don't change the culture through education and information, it doesn't matter what your solution is. You're not going to succeed, because the culture is what we have to change. Now, if you can tell me what the magic bullet is to change the culture on a dime, I'm all ears. But
this is what I was saying with the Green Party and NDP. If we remember 30 years ago, they were a joke. They weren't getting votes. They weren't getting anything. They were basically like us. They were the Libertarian Party. Now, what happened was Elizabeth May and people like that, they were activists. They got into their public area, not Canada-wide, but their area, like their riding. And they activated it in there, and they got notoriety, and they got into the House through their riding, which creates votes in the House to the left. And that pushed everything.
Greg, the interesting thing with the Greens, though, is they were established exactly 1 month after Canada signed on to the Sustainable Development Agenda in '92. All of the green parties around the world were. I have an email from Elizabeth May who admits that they were created to promote the Sustainable Development Agenda. Now, when you have that machine promoting that narrative, of course, your Green Party is going to expand and it's going to grow. And that's exactly what we've seen with that. And you know, the NDP is a little different scenario, but you're right. So it takes time. They have to change the culture. They have to change the narrative and bust through it. And they've done it. They've had a lot of help. The Greens have. But you're right. And none of this is going to happen tomorrow. None of it.
No, politics is a lifetime game.
But it's gonna take people like myself, yourself, Bennett, and Cody, and the activists, all saying essentially the same thing, sharing the same goals, having different solutions and different methods of achieving those goals, but doing it. This is why I find this whole thing of unity, especially the last couple of days. And let me get this out first, Bennett. So. Cody comes after me because I'm PPC, right? I still support the PPC, and they've been coming at this. Isn't new. This isn't something new. This has been going on since I've been involved because I was part of the PPC. I've never attacked them for their solution. I've never attacked them for what they think they want to do. I allow them. I like them doing what they're doing because it helps wake the nation. It helps wake people up. They don't like what I'm doing because I happen to think the best way and the most effective way to reach the masses is through the political system, because that's where the majority of the masses are. I can't limit myself.
So just ignore history, huh? So just ignore history entirely, right? And just keep hoping and praying for that politics. Once again, so you're not even acknowledging politics is a direct representation of force. That's what it's a threat of violence, is what it is. That's what when you're talking about government.
We don't disagree. We don't disagree.
Until you tell people that, if you told the person, if you actually pointed to government as, you know what, not only do they not have any legitimate claim of authority, these are people that's just like the Grim Reaper carrying the. They've got evil intentions. Anyone that goes into politics that wants to be in control, you got to get people in the understanding that politics is all about using force and violence. So when you guys are talking about whether it's the Green Party, hold on, I let you talk, Mark. You just hold on. Whether you're talking about the Green Party, the NDP, the Conservatives, the Liberal, yeah, sure. And if you play politics and you keep telling people that the state's what you need to save yourself, then yes, you will have a fucking population filled with millions and millions of people that are looking to use force and violence as their ultimate means to end or to defend themselves against their political opponents. That's what you get. And what you end up, if you continue on that road, I'll tell you exactly. And you can call me, you can say I'm wrong, but I guarantee I'll prove them right. I might be dead, but someone at least put it in my fucking on my tombstone where Bennett proved 100% fact. Because all you end up doing is you get what Greg was alluding to earlier, where the society actually has to break down, then people actually realize fully what the state is all about, then they'll finally come around. But I don't want to wait to that time. Like I say,
let me ask you a question, Bennett. Do you want an anarchy state? Is that what you're asking for? Like no government at all?
No.
So there is some sort of a state, and this is where
No. See, this is what you mean. See, when you say that, what is the state? Can you point to the state?
But this is what I'm asking you. What do you want to replace the current system?
Do you have kids, Greg?
Yes.
Are they old enough? Do they still believe in Santa Claus or the Easter Bunny? Or did you at some point in time did you tell them that it doesn't exist?
Okay, but you're not answering my question.
Yes, actually I am. Maybe
No, listen.
Because until you give people the ideas.
But it's the idea. This is where a disconnect is. It's the idea of the state, right? I'm asking you, what do you said we've both agreed before in the conversation that there needs to be some sort of state to replace the state we have. Because who protects the individual rights? Yourself with a gun? That's an anarchy state. Or do you have someone that arbitrates the individual rights? This is what I'm asking.
I think he froze.
I think he did too. But do you see my point, Mark? Do you see my point?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, this is what I was going to ask him. I mean, okay, everything he said leading up to there, I agree with. But however, what are you going to replace it with once it burns down? I would like to avoid burning it all down. I would like to avoid a rebellion. However, I'm prepared for it. but I would like to avoid that. And if you want to avoid that, then and furthermore, if you want to reach the masses, if you want to reach critical mass, you have to do it through the existing system that the majority of the masses still believe in. Whether I believe in it or not is irrelevant. If I need to educate the masses, I'm going to do it on a platform that gets me the most people engaged in the ideas that are the same as what Bennett has for ideas. But we have to, there's a system in place that's ingrained in everybody. And if you don't use that system to educate people, then you're pissing against the wind and you'll remain fringe, you'll remain ignored and ineffective. And so, you know, people get pissed off when I say that. Well, so be it. You know what? You're not going to change the simple and cold hard truth. Is if you don't use the system that you're afforded to reach the masses and educate and inform and to share ideas, you're pissing against the wind.
Yeah, like as I said, it's either an anarchy state or there's some sort of state to protect individual rights. You can't. There's no. I don't understand how you think there's going to be something else. Like there's either a state or there's not.
Well, and this whole idea that we're going to create our own constitution and our own regions throughout the country. Fair enough. Okay, I get it. I understand where you're going and what you want to do. However, human nature itself develops a hierarchy. So whatever you create outside of the existing system is still going to have a hierarchy in naturally. You can't avoid that. That's a natural occurrence. So whatever it is that you have for an idea to get outside the existing system, there's going to be another system in place to replace it. So,
of course. If not, it's anarchy.
Well, exactly. And I mean, sure. From an individual standpoint, could I handle anarchy? Sure, I could. No problem. I have guns. You know, I have training. I know how to live and support and be self-reliant. Sure, but the society does not function in anarchy. It just simply doesn't. So
no,
you know. And that's and so when I get into these arguments and I get shit on because I'm still, you know, in the system and I'm a traitor somehow, and somehow I'm not a patriot because for me, I recognize that in order to reach the masses, and it's the people that we rely on and need in order to affect change, if I can't reach the masses, if I can't educate and inform the masses and bust through the media narrative and bust through the bureaucracy and bust through the political narratives, what am I doing? Right? And so that's the only thing I see. Now, that doesn't mean I denounce all these other people and what they're doing. Of course I don't. Why would I?
No,
but if you're going to hold me to the fire and say I have to follow your solution, well, forget it. It's not going to happen. I don't expect that of them. Why do they expect it of me?
That's not how exactly, and that's not how the world works. And that's what me and Bennett were saying. We're not going to agree on everything. We need to. We have found a core problem that we all agree on, and that's what we need to concentrate on. Bennett.
There we go.
Bennett, welcome back.
Yeah, holy crap. Blue screen of death. I've only had that ever happen twice. What are the chances of that? I have no idea. But anyways, so actually give me a second to actually think exactly. So Mark had responded earlier that he believes that the Liberals, and I'm glad he actually took that position because that's perfect, that you believe that Liberals or NDP, and I would imagine Conservatives and anyone else, they believe that they're doing the right thing. How could they believe that? How do you suppose that could be the case, that these people that believe that they're doing things that are benevolent, how could they ever get to that point in their mind where they think where they think that the state?
That's not the case.
That's what Mark said.
That's not.
No. Actually, that's not what I said. Actually, what I said was there's a set of core values that Canadians share.
You can't talk at the same time.
No,
90% of Canadians. This is what I said, Bennett. That I believe 90% of Canadians believe in a set of core values of freedom, liberty, and justice. Prove me wrong.
Okay. Right. No, it's not a matter of proving you wrong. I'm saying that if you believe that 90% of Canadians have those core values, and like I say, I'm not disputing or not, then why are 90% of those people advocating for violence as an ultimate means to the end for everything they want? Why is that
They
the
don't
case?
even know they don't know they're advocating for violence.
Exactly.
They don't have
Exactly.
they don't have an understanding. That's what I'm
That's
saying.
right.
So we
That
agree.
is right.
And why is that? Because every
That's where
party is
philosophy
saying,
comes in.
but every party,
Absolutely.
Not politics. That's
every
where
party
truth.
is going
That's
to
where
just
truth.
go where the votes
Philosophy.
go. Every party is going where the votes go. They're not in it for me
Yes,
and
they
you.
are.
They're in it for power.
Exactly. Yes,
But
and that's the
the
way
thing
it's always going to be.
They're using our morals and our ethics against us to do it. This is where they're fooling the masses, because they fooled the masses as they think that they need the government to do all that.
Exactly. You're proving my point. Thank you.
But this is where I'm saying we're all in agreement. This is why we need people like us, like-minded people. I haven't heard Mark agree to that yet, no. This is why we need like-minded people to start getting into the House to start changing that.
Now you got to tell the people the truth first. You got to tell the people the truth first. If you're not willing to tell them the truth, the whole truth,
we all agree, and that's the thing. We all agree.
Where the activists come in. The activists can play that part to educate the masses on the streets, and help people like-minded, like the activists and us, get in to change the House. We all are in agreement.
Yes, all agree.
Right?
Listen, okay. Agree, but you gotta let Mark. You got to let Mark actually answer that first, though, because you and I might be in agreement, but I haven't heard Mark, because I've never heard Mark actually say that the state is an illegitimate use of force. The state can prove that actually Bennett, nobody has any. I can prove 100% nobody has any legitimate claim to my paycheck. I can prove that because I've never given one politician ever in my life. I've never given anybody any claim of ownership over my paycheck or my income. But yet Canadians, they believe that you're supposed to.
What? You need someone in the House to say how to change that. Someone in the House can start putting a bill going, okay, we're eliminating income tax. That's how changes are made. Like-minded people get into the House and say, okay, income tax is gone.
But do you know how many Canadians? Yeah, but do you know how many Canadians benefit from an income tax? So how many Canadians are going to say, "Well, I'm not going to vote for the ones that's going to take away my golden goose"? Hey, Mark, how's Mark going to get his pension? Mark would lose out on his pension. Anyone that's ever worked for government would automatically lose out, not just on the wealth redistribution and largesse that they benefit already over the course of their entire career, but then they're going to lose out on all that largesse in the future, which is why Mark is never going to be incentivized to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth. All right? That's the problem.
Are you going to let me answer? Or
yes, let him answer. Let him answer. Yes.
Okay, so I'm going to back this up to where we had an agreement. And the thing of it is, every and I don't know where you get this whole thing, Bennett, that I'm supporting the state and I support the current system. I am more anti-establishment.
Were you a correctional officer?
People I hear. Let me finish, Bennett. Let me finish.
I got questions for you. Go ahead.
Yeah, I'll answer that as I go through. So at the end of the day, what we're seeing is politicians in a system who don't lead from the front. None of them lead from the front. They lead from what the masses tell them to do so they can get elected. And how is that possible? Through the media. The media has indoctrinated and misinformed the populace for a very long time. Then you add in the education system that's done the same thing. Then you add in the bureaucracy. Then you add in Hollywood. Then you add in the TV and all this other thing that we're all working against, because we have to bust through and change the culture of people so they understand when they're voting for the liberals or the conservatives or any other establishment, they're not voting for the values that we all share, which is freedom, liberty, and justice. They don't understand that that's not what they're doing. Now, to address the other thing that you just picked up on and you put down on my page, yeah, I worked for the government for 25 years. I did it, and I did it proudly. How does that take me out of the equation? How does that immediately discredit what I believe? Because I worked for the government, because I worked for actually the people is what I did, and I did it in uniform, and I did it proudly. After 25 years of working in that shit and working with the bureaucracy, I retired at 44 years old and started my own business, because I understand that working for the man, you are just a number. You're part of the collectivist system that they have put together. I lived it. I fought it every day. I went to work,
25
including my union that I was part of.
Did it take you 25 years to figure that out? Did it take you 25 years? It took you 25 years to figure it out. Because he won't.
See, and now right now Bennett is trying to discredit me because I worked for the government. I supported my family because I worked for the government, right? So I don't have a point.
Hey, let me know when I'm allowed to respond there, Mark. How's that, huh? Even though it is my
well, you've been cutting me off the whole time. I tried to say it and answer yours.
Whoa.
I just let you go on with your bullshit. And I'm asking you right now, why should I trust something that took 25 years for you to realize that you were working for a corrupt institution? How many people that you were there while you were a correctional officer were put in there for selling drugs? Huh?
That I didn't put them there.
You never did you, but you were there to make sure that they were, abiding by whatever.
Bennett, that's like you fucking shitting on soldiers who served their country because they fought shitty wars.
Have to turn
Why would you do that?
Force to my fellow man, woman, and child. That's the difference. That's why if there's going to be a leader anywhere in this country, it sure shit ain't going to be people who are statists that have seemingly takes 25 years to even grasp what the concept of government means. So that's where you should know
the system we have. That's the system we have.
I have a much better grasp of knowledge.
So you're discrediting and denouncing anybody who's worked in uniform, whether it be soldiers, Mounties, cops.
Nope. I know lots of people. You ever heard of Adam Kokesh? He's actually one of the very first guys back after Ron Paul's movement down the U.S. Do you know how many military men actually supported Ron Paul? The overwhelming majority of the contributions from the military. You know why?
But you're automatically discrediting me because I did. What about those people?
What I'm saying, Mark, but you're not being honest with the people. It's not that. Listen, if you
how am I not being honest?
Hey, if you told me after 25 years you realized that you worked for the most corrupt institution on the planet, and now you want to tell the truth and expose what the government is to the people, then I'd be completely on board. But you're not. What you want is you want to say that, oh yeah, but I was doing it for, whatever the good, but we still want to maintain the state. We want to maintain the structure. We want people to still believe in this kind of statism where you use, like I say, force always as your means to an end.
Where did I say that I want to maintain statism? When did I say that?
Because you want to create, all you care about is politics, is voting for whether it's the PDP.
Bennett, I just told you that politics is downstream from culture. What I'm doing is trying to change the culture so the politics changes.
Bennett, what you're saying is anybody who's worked for the state for a long time is discredited. That's what you're saying.
Well, that's not what I said. That's literally the exact opposite of what I just said. Greg, listen.
Question. It took 20. Why did it take 25 years? I don't understand what you're saying, Bennett. You're saying it took.
Do you see? Do you see?
Yeah. No, I'm not seeing because you said.
I'm fine with whatever happens in this country, man. So you guys can play games all you want. You can gaslight. You can do whatever you want. It's not going to change one guy's thing. Okay, you just tried to say that I said, and when I literally told you, Adam Kokesh, I could put you in touch. You can check out his channel. He'll be the first guy to tell you that the state is illegitimate. And he went to Iraq. He did tours of duty. So don't tell me that military men, and I actually know Canadian military men that actually fully grasp what the state is and would turn against it in a moment. Now, and when I talk to these people all the time, and those I have no problem with. Those are people that I consider fellow allies.
So what did Mark do that was different? That's where my confusion is, because what did Mark do that was different?
He's just admitted that he worked for the state for 25 years, and somehow I guess it took him 25 years to realize that he's working for an institution that is massively corrupt. His paycheck came by a way of forced wealth redistribution. And there's no way he'd never know if he was actually going to be paid properly in his job, because when there's no market that sets the price, or if you would even be hired in a free market, so
what's the difference between that and a military man for 30 years?
What's that, sorry?
Difference between that and a military man that's paid by
it depends on the military man, his concepts, what he says. That's the thing. I talk to people as individuals. I don't know. I can't create this thing where I can tell you every military man. Like I say, I know military men, and they feel terrible this day.
This is what I'm saying. Mark just said he quit the government and started his own business because
but he still promotes the state.
No, he doesn't promote the current state. He wants he wants
one in his liking. I get it. Everyone wants the state in their liking.
No, but so do you.
No, I know. Not at all.
You want an anarchy. So,
I would love for all 37 million Canadians to say, I don't believe in the state. Matter of fact,
you want an anarchy.
Bennett,
want
why
an
did you,
anarchist.
coming from
You want an
somebody
anarchy.
who's someone who's so virulent about this and so vehement about this, why did you consider and put your name forward to run for as candidate for the PPC? Why did you do that?
Why don't we expand it out? Why did I even interview you? Why did I interview all these other candidates? Because I wanted to give everyone the opportunity. Of course I'm not
talking about everybody. I'm talking about you. If you're so vehement against the state and you're making all these claims against me, why did you express interest in running as a candidate for the PPC? If you believe I'm so bad for what I've done, why did you do that?
No. Because the only thing I said was there was like 14 ridings that were not filled at that time. This was late stage. Are you going to admit that, Mark? Right at the very end?
Sure. Absolutely. You called me and asked how you should go about putting forward your name for as a candidate. I remember that 100%. No problem.
Yeah. And I said, because there was no one in my riding where I live in New Brunswick, because I said there's nobody here and there was only a few, and we wanted all the PPC people wanted to at least show that we could get all 338 and show, look, from coast to coast, all where in between we could throw. So I basically said, you know what? I said I would do just like I supported the PPC. It wasn't like I believe in the state, but I actually, by doing all that, but what you're going to do is you're going to take the fact that I somewhat yielded my own principles to try to help people like you out because I thought you had the right intentions. So what you're going to do now is try to turn that and flip that back on me and ignore what? The other, I don't know, let's say 1,200 videos that I've ever done, or the 10 years of talking about anti-statism, but you're just going to pick that one little thing, are you, Mark?
I'm actually just going to tell you that I'm no different than you are.
You're not talking to me in good faith if you're going to try to play that game with me. Try to say, I'm a statement now.
Spin that? How is it possible for you to spin
that?
No,
really, though, you're going to try to play that game with me?
You're just telling me exactly the same thing as me.
I never worked for the government ever in my life, and I still can make that claim ever.
But you still haven't answered my question. You haven't answered my question. So
I've always worked in the private sector, man.
Okay.
I've made my money. I've socialized with people based on everything voluntary, not because I use the state to take from other people to benefit me at their expense. All right.
Okay, so you're anti-state. So you are for anarchy.
No, I'm for not using force and violence and theft.
Okay, I get that. So who protects that?
What do you mean, who protects that? Are you going to say that the state? Because then you get into that retarded logic. If you're trying to say the state protects people from the bad people.
I asked you a question. I asked you a simple question.
I've protected myself my whole life.
That's anarchy.
Man.
That's anarchy. That's so you either want anarchy or you want someone to protect individual rights. Call it a state, call it a group of people, call it a fucking problem.
You're accusing me of calling for anarchy. Like, once again, let me explain to you. I'm trying to explain to people that the state is an illegitimate entity that has caused a tremendous amount of harm to millions of people.
We agree.
Right.
We agree on that.
That's what I'm saying. Now, do I think that all the Canadians tomorrow, or if everyone automatically learns what I know and understands the knowledge that I understand, that we're going to eliminate the state tomorrow? No. But I know, at least if I know a large percentage of that population fully grasp and understand what the state is, they might make better decisions, because like Mark was trying to allude to earlier, most people, matter of fact, most interactions, and I would say both of you would agree the same thing. How many times when you're out in public are people using a gun or stealing from you? No, most of your interactions are usually done voluntary, right? So I think we can expand that out. I'm saying we can expand that out to everything. Healthcare, you want healthcare? We can make that a voluntary transaction too. All you got to do is have a doctor. You pay the doctor, or you can set up an insurance thing where people can pull their money, and you can do that as long as it's all voluntary and you don't use force or theft as your means to an end. I'm saying do whatever. If the state rises, falls, as long as we have an educated population, the culture will adapt the mentality and the psychology to do the right thing. But if they keep believing in the state, and everyone's promoting the state,
we agree on that. We agree on that, but who?
How do you get there? How do you get there?
People's minds. That's the only way. Like I say, the only thing that we have.
We agree again.
The options we have is get people's minds up to speed.
How do you change people's minds? How do you do that?
I've done it to lots of Canadians. I'm working on a regular basis. I don't know how many. I don't count. But over the course of 10 years, there's probably at least been a few thousand people that I have helped understand what the state is, right? Not just influence. Absolutely. No, I don't get crap with influence. I'm all about educating and informing. Influence doesn't matter, nothing to me. Like I said, I don't even care if someone else would come along and do the job and make me look like an idiot and understood the concepts, could articulate it. Matter of fact, Stefan Molyneux is a much better speaker than I am. And if he would choose to,
Fantastic. I watch him all the time.
And rather than him always worrying about American, although, see, that's the thing. I understand even why Stefan Molyneux focuses more on the Americans, because it's America that's going to be the driving force in how Canada. Unfortunately, Canada is like this fucking nipple on compared to the U.S., and they'll just kind of go whichever way the wind blows. If the Americans do the right thing, I think more and more Canadians might eventually come around to doing the right thing too, because that's where the real
right. So let me ask you this then, Bennett. Let me ask you this then. So I've asked you, numerous times. You don't know the answer, neither do I. But how do you reach the masses? I recognize that you've reached thousands. I recognize that I've reached thousands.
Okay, I can help that.
But obviously, it's not enough. Now, at the end, we share a lot of the same values. Okay,
right. So, I can help you there, Mark.
So that's why I say when you're preaching to the choir. But ultimately, we all need to figure out the best way to reach and educate and inform the masses. That's the trick. And so I'll use any platform that's afforded to me that's going to allow me to do that. That's why I chose. I don't want to be a politician. I've never wanted to be one. And quite frankly, the second that a party that represents my values is able to be elected, I get to quit politics and go back and build a log cabin in the woods and live my life. So this isn't about, it's bigger than being a politician. I don't want it. However, for me, I see it as the best way and most effective way to reach the masses who still believe in the existing system we have. And until we can reach all of those, it's going to continue to be that system. So we have to get into that system and change it from within. That's my belief. That's what I'm doing. And I won't stop until, we win. So,
okay, so here you asked the question, and I'm going to answer it for you. So the only way this works, because we understand, just like me and Greg had agreed to earlier, and I'm sure you might agree with this well, most people are followers.
Yep.
Would you agree with that? Okay.
Absolutely.
So if there's right. So knowing this, then when you're playing politics, and whether it's doing by the Wexit movement or the PPC or someone else that creates a constitutional thing, or what it is you're still people are finding ways to use politics once again as their means to an end. Whereas if we could all at least agree, because this is the one thing that, and me and Greg admitted this, and I'm pretty sure you will, this early on when we started the stream, is the three core principles of libertarianism, I'm pretty sure we all agree on. I own myself. Nobody owns me. And anything by natural extension, what I produce by property, whether it's through my intellect or my labor, that's mine. Nobody has any. And the NAP. Don't use preemptive force, violence, theft, and shit like that towards me. So once again, we have to rally the ideas. Like, let's listen. I'm getting you here, and I totally understand. Like even with the politics, I'm not faulting you entirely, Mark. And the fact that we're still talking shows you that I have hope. I mean, I've got faith for you that we can figure this out somehow. Otherwise, I would have just said fuck it, wouldn't even bother. But what it is like I say, we got to get people to understand and the concepts are tough, man. Like, this is what I'm saying is, I don't think you guys realize the gravity, but go try to talk to you. If you got a religious grandma, go try to tell grandma that God doesn't exist. That is how difficult it is to tell people to stop using the state, right, as their means to an end, because now God has been replaced by the state. The state is now, like I say, your benevolent overlord, where people look to change and shift and affect culture. But what is the state? It's a representation of.
So you're telling me what we need to tell everybody.
So we got to stop fighting amongst each other.
We're going to do it.
Okay, my question is.
Okay, so the ones, like I say, I don't even care if it's me or Tim Mullen, but the ones that are actually talking about the philosophical realities and the universal consistent morality and ethics contained within the philosophy of liberty should be the ones that are getting the biggest megaphones. Because the politics, I mean, like I say, if you guys want to talk amongst each other,
so how?
And argue about it, because I think Mark should be able to do his own thing. Like let's say Mark would prefer like a minarchist type of state for this, but even maybe some socialized healthcare. I was like, you do your thing, but until we get people up to speed and realize that I should not be forced or to opt into that, until we can get the concept concepts, then what? But once we've got them, then and once I firmly believe that once people realize that, oh shit, even us socialists can try our little socialist experiment if you want, or commies can try their thing, although it'll fail so quick they'll find out how terrible it works. But all we have to do is get people to understand the ideas. Then people will not have so much animosity and resentment towards each other because everyone recognizes now that it's all about the force, right? So Bennett, all I'm saying is
100% agree. But again, you haven't said how we're going to educate, how we're going to reach the masses. You haven't told me how. You told me all the what, and we agree with all the what, but it's the how we're going to do it.
We have to use whether, like I do it on social media, but I also, when I'm out in public, like even if I go to the store or everywhere I go, if I hear people even just talking about something where, oh, look, I can, without being some nut bar, right? Because you don't want to be a guy who just step out of the blue and like, but if I hear someone like, even if it's a political speech or they're talking about economic or how inflation, I love when someone says, oh, the price of this is, that's my minute to step in and give them an understanding of the whole, let them dip the toes in the water of the whole monetary system. But once again, it comes down to the ideas. And right now what I'm seeing is, how is it then? Okay, can you explain to me? And it's not your fault, Mark, because you're just one person once again. But can you explain to me why it is that as soon as the PPC movement, because they failed on the political side, which I expected anyways. But I was willing, like anyone, let's see what's happening at the very least. And I said this early on. It's all on video. I said early on, this is going to actually test and gauge the pulse. Where are Canadians at? And it scared me to find out actually where they are, to be honest with you. But like I say, why is it then that people like myself? Why are those thousands of people that used to watch my videos no longer watching them? Because they're now pivoting into watching people like you and other ones who want to play politics. Now I'm saying go ahead. Like if the limelight's what you want, enjoy your 15 minutes. Like I say, I was out here 10 years ago. So trust me, I've had enough of the 15 minutes. I tell you the truth, if I could go away and not even talk about this shit ever again, but I recognize that there's nobody stepping up to take my spot or Tim Mullen's. We're the only ones that I'm seeing out there that are being 100% forthright, honest, will say the things that nobody wants to hear. Tell them that your God is full of shit. It doesn't exist. The state is a mystical concept. But even Tim Mullen will say, but I realize the reason why I'm the leader of the Libertarian Party is because people are still going to believe in the state some way. So you're going to need that vessel. Like I say, whether it's the PPC, I was willing to give PPC the chance. But the vessel is something that you use after. And you admitted it yourself, the culture first. So can we get the culture first? Stop trying to make people like me as if like we're outcasts. Because if you're not, you're actually harming your own cause. You're harming your own cause if you turn away from people like myself. Sorry, what happened there, Mark?
Loverboy here on 98.
Just to answer that, this is what me and Mark, but we're not trying to do that. What we're saying is exactly
Mark. Why don't you?
No, because when you went off, we talked about this. Sorry, but we're not trying to do that. What we're saying is exactly what Tim Mullen is saying is. We are trying to change the system within because we realize that people are not ready for no system, right? We realize that people are still dependent on the system.
I know that too.
So I'll take it a step further, actually. I'll take it a step further, and I can't be on for much longer. I got to head out. I got lots of things I got to do. But anyway, I'll just finish by saying this. Listen, for me, it's not about politics. It's not about, again, becoming a politician. It's not about the PPC, but the PPC represents an ability for me and others to reach a number of people. Listen, I don't even consider what we did in the past election as a failure. 300,000 people believed, at least at a core level, what we're trying to do, what the party was trying to do. But what's more important to me is it gave me a platform, and I don't want the limelight, Bennett. I don't want to be anything other than somebody who educates and informs the masses on the UN and the Sustainable Development Agenda and globalism, because it's the root of all our problems. That's all I'm doing. That's all I've done from day one to this.
How can you say that?
So, very easy, because that's what I'm doing. Because that's exactly what I'm doing.
But no, but when you say the UN is the threat, how could the UN be a threat?
I use the Yellow Vest as a platform. I use the PPC as a platform. I use all of these protests that I've created and that I've been part of and helped promote. I've used them all as platforms. That's it. That's it. You can.
Okay, can I just let me just respond real quick, Mark?
That all you want, but that's the fact.
No, but listen, I'm just, and trust me, just think about it. This is all I want you to think about, because I know you got to go, whatever. But why would the UN be a threat? It's the same reason why Trudeau or anyone else in the political realm is a threat, is because people believe. They would never, if 37 million Canadians didn't believe that anyone in the UN has any authority over them or should ever have any authority over anyone, they'd be no threat to anyone. Just like if 37 million people believe that whether Trudeau got an L on it,
our government and our establishment have committed to that agenda, which in turn means we are all affected by it. So we need somebody in government, outside, within the state, whoever has control, and say, go fuck yourself, UN. We don't want your shit. We don't want your agenda. We're going to handle things on our own. We've had this discussion before about nationalism versus globalism. I'm a nationalist, Bennett. I know you're not. You just want to be your own island somewhere. I don't know.
No, I don't want to be my own island. See, this is the thing. That's not even close to the reality. If you knew where I lived and the people that I've hung out with people in community, you know what? Actually, the crazy part is the people that when I moved back from Ontario to here, they're so cliquish in these small rural communities that they'll all literally just hang out. The boys downers hang out with the boys downers. The dope downers hang out. I actually have friends in all of the communities. Why? Because you know what it is? It's not that I want to see. That's weird part when people say that about libertarians. They want to live. What the hell? I would never want. I got a wife. I got 2 kids. I got friends. I got people that I love. No. Matter of fact, if I was out ripping on my 4-wheeler or my bike, I mean, once in a while by yourself is not bad, but no, I like to be surrounded by people. What it is, I will never give any person, my neighbor, a friend, any pretense that they have any authority over me. That's it. That's it. I just want the rest of my fellow Canadians to stop giving people this pretense that as soon as they put on a straight or a pinstripe suit and call themselves that I'm from a political party, that somehow they've got some authority over them. Because as long as you keep giving people the pretense that people in government have authority over them, that's the way they're going to think, right? And you end up with the kind of structure, the kind of society that we have today. That's all I'm saying. I know I say it, and I know sometimes maybe it's my fault because I make it sound simple, because it's taken me a long time to understand these concepts properly. So maybe you folks just haven't got to that point yet.
What I'm hearing from Mark is he wants to get in.
Sorry, Greg. I'm just going to cut out and let you carry on. I didn't mean to cut you off, but I really got to go. I got shit piling up here. But, Greg, Bennett, I appreciate you giving me time and having this discussion and debate.
No problem.
Let's do it again.
For sure. We can do it again. Like I say, I will always be the kind of person that will be willing to talk to someone. So no matter, even if we have a big disagreement, just know that if you're willing to reach out and have the conversation, I'm always willing to chat.
Have a good night, Mark.
Take it easy.
All right. So what I gathered from that, I think on a whole, we are in agreement. So what I heard from Mark was is really exactly what you're saying too, is, you know, we need to get to a point where government is not our authority. Well, that's what I hear from Mark too, but he wants to get in to make it like that.
Yes, that's where, like, that's, and like I say, it's not me. Trust me. If you just had to rely on my opinion alone, I would say don't do it. But just read up some literature, some history on all those founding fathers, or John Locke, or some of these Enlightenment era figures that figured this stuff out hundreds of years ago, man. This is, matter of fact, what I'm saying, I kind of feel a little bit guilty for the fact that most people don't understand this, that how am I? But what it is I'm one of those people, just like if I was building an engine, lots of people build engines. I'm the guy that'll probably build the engine that'll kick the rest of the guys. I don't know why, and I'm sorry if people get resentful and envious of me of that, but I am one of those people who will drive myself further than most people in any endeavor that I pursue or undergo. So I thought that once I understand this, I thought all you'd have to do, just like when a kid, you just have to explain to people that these concepts, and like I say, my 4 questions, it's easy to prove the mysticism of the state, but most people are just like religious people these days. They want to reject the truth. Just like my grandma. Grandma, the earth really isn't 6,000 years old. She loves me. She doesn't have any ill intentions toward me, but she will never reject that kind of mysticism, because people that believe that she believed were an authority overruled what I said, because who am I, right? And now that's the thing. For me to gain that kind of, this is the crazy part. Mark thinks that if you gain that kind of authority, It does, and it does. If I get the big bully pulpit on the political stage, yeah, somehow that gives me credibility. I can literally be saying the same thing, right? But what it is, that's the power of mysticism. That's where people are like, oh, I can't listen to anyone else here. Let me listen to what the preacher says, and then I'll believe it, right? So it's like, but once you've turned yourself into the preacher, well, now it's going to be really difficult to say, oh, God doesn't exist. Just like if you become a politician and you say, it's a completely illegitimate. Now, I'm not saying people won't do it. Ron Paul actually did it. Ron Paul has actually even said on his own channel, when asked and confronted by libertarians, would you identify as an anarchist? Yes. But he was a politician, right? So, but he used what Ron Paul did. Now, like I say, if someone wanted to use...
That's how I see Mark. That honestly, that's my opinion.
I don't.
Of what Mark, because Mark even said, he's like, I don't want to be a politician. I just want to live in a cabin in the woods. And if you watch a lot of his videos, that's what his videos are: fishing and being isolated in the woods. So
yeah, but he also worked for the state for 25 years, right?
I get that. I understand that. But some of the most patriotic people I know, were soldiers who, let's admit it, they work for the state. They are the state is military, right? And right, and the people like I mentioned, my good friend Mark Snow, he was in military for 30 years. He was in Lebanon and Afghanistan and Iraq and all these places. But he woke up and he realized that these are fucking wars, not for the people and my freedoms. These are wars for the elites. So, sometimes, when you're brought up your whole life, listen, we all went through the same school system and we were all brought up brainwashed our whole lives. That takes a lot to get over, but timelines aren't the same for people, right? And so, and the most brainwashed people are the people that do work for the state.
Can we stop talking? Then can we at least stop talking that we're equal? Then, because this is the problem.
We're not equal.
This is where we're even right.
Exactly. That's my whole point.
Maybe I'm better understanding these concepts than 99% of Canadians. Is that possible?
That is possible, but that's what I'm saying. You can't discount. But you can't discount what Mark's saying because it took him 25 years.
Because you got a background. Listen, even if a thief reformed, let's say there was a guy spent 25 years being a thief, like actually a pickpocketer, they can reform. But if we're going to try to change things, who do you think the population are going to be more willing to trust? Someone that has a background of being a thief, or someone that has spent their entire life and can prove it, never ever having any position within government, always being in the private sector, always relying on voluntary interaction socially and economically? That, to me, that's a thing where it's like,
who would be a better cop? A former thief who's been reformed and knows how they work, or a guy who has pushed and did the right thing his whole life and doesn't understand the streets whatsoever? Because there is those two different type of people. And
but you're setting up a scenario that has nothing to do with what we're talking about here.
No, it's an analogy, right? I'm using an analogy. Like, if you worked for the state for 25 years, you probably know a lot more worse things than someone like me who's never worked for the state, who just hates the state, right? But you'll keep doing it anyways, was what you're saying, right? No. Well, what I'm saying is, like, people who've been in the military their whole lives and then finally wake up and when they're like, well, this isn't right at all, and they quit, right? We see that, and we see that time and time and over. Well, that's no different than, someone who worked for a correctional officer and then realize and gets to know prisoners and talks to prisoners and then realizes, wait a minute, this isn't right, and then quits, right? Yeah. But some of these people do, like Mark Snow, who was the vice president of the Ontario Libertarian Party. He worked for the state and still does work for the state, but he doesn't like this. But he realizes that what the state is, and he's trying to get in and risk actually his job and livelihood and everything to change the state within, like Tim Moen is. It's the exact same thing.
Well, no, but Tim Mullen, actually, no, Tim Mullen isn't. And Tim Mullen would tell you, I could get him on to tell you that no, he ain't, he knows the politics isn't going to change. Me and Tim Mullen are in 100. We've talked about this stuff so many times, which is why me and him are such good, because he understands these concepts as much as I do. And that's the thing. Not everyone in Canada does, but he understands that politics is not, we have to do the work of changing the culture. And like I say, if you were a musician, I'd say, write some songs about liberty. If you were an actor, I'd say, create some movies where you got some Mel Gibson characters, fighting against the government. Do whatever you can to get the culture, because like I say, we're all just going to be sitting here in an echo chamber, and it's going to continue on.
We're in full agreement. We're in full agreement, because that's what we like. Me, Tim, Tim's been on my show, and this is what we we were in agreement with. We need to almost model the left, not in policies, but how they did it. They changed the culture, right? As I said, Elizabeth May, Jagmeet Singh, they're all activists. They got their name known through activism, right? And the libertarians' role is to shift that the other way. That's to change the culture and shift that the other way, the exact same way the Green Party and the NDP did. It takes 30, 40 years. It's not a short game. It ain't going to happen tomorrow. But to change the culture, we need a party to shift that culture. Whether it be the PPC,
that's the thing.
The Libertarian Party, the Freedom Party, the Alliance Party, the fucking Rhino Party, whatever the fuck it is. Right? It takes, in the political world, well, that's how the left did it. That's exactly how the left did it, with the activism within the parties. They formed
but the left, what you say the left is not really, because the right did it too. Right? Right wingers love their socialized. Go ahead, try to tell a right winger that we want to take away your socialized health care.
Oh okay, but my right and your right is a lot different than Canadian right. Like let's get that like Canadian. The Canadian right side of the aisle is still left in like the States, right? Right?
But Canadians had a lot. But if you ask a Canadian, if you told a guy that votes for the Conservative Party that you're just a liberal, is he going to agree with you or disagree with you?
Well,
he's going to say no. He's a conservative.
No, he's going to no for sure, 100%. But that's what I mean. Our culture in Canada is different than the States, right?
Yeah.
Like the Democrat Party in the States is our conservative party.
Yeah.
Right.
No, but what it is, let me to clear up the confusion, because I think you're pretty much there. But the best way I've ever found, and this is for myself, so I'm not just saying like, oh, you need to learn. I had to teach myself this to understand these concepts better, is rather than thinking with this left right thing, is just think of, in terms of politics, is our brain is split up into two hemispheres as well. And it depending on, not just male or female, because even some females, there's overlap there. So, but typically, you got one side of the brain that does most of the analyzing, the methodological, critical thinking and all that stuff, right? And that's basically, even if you go back to our monkey brain. And then we had the other side, the left side, that's got a little bit more of the creativity, the imagination. Well, if it's the right or left, whichever, I'm talking the political, but whichever one you want to pick. I think it's actually the opposite, to be honest with you. But whichever one you want to pick, what it is the people that are on the left of the political divide, like these are all people that are collectivists and authoritarian. But what it is, the people that identify on the left are the ones that are much better at using the power of persuasion and the language to manipulate it so that it sounds conducive for their kind of particular ideology, or how they want to create society. Because think about it, the liberals all say, the lefties all say, they, just like Mark was acknowledging earlier, they all say that they want to do these things to help people, to give people their freedoms and these human rights. But what it is when they talk about it, no one is there to push back against the fact, especially when you're talking about rights. The most dominant thing that people should be talking about when you're talking about rights is negative and positive. If you're not hearing people talk about negative and positive rights, then people just don't even grasp what a fucking right is, because there's no such thing as a positive right. I don't like when people say, I should have access to healthcare, free healthcare. Well, that's saying that you should be able to enslave somebody else to perform a procedure or something on you against their will. That's enslavement, right? So that's not proper. The only right that can be universalized consistently, and Christianity understood this, well, especially New Testament Christianity is, and that was once again taking it down to the individual, is the negative things, the negative rights. And the negative right is you don't have a right to cause harm to someone. And you can universalize that, and we can all live harmoniously. No interruptions in that, because it's perfectly consistent, just like with math. 2 + 2 is 4. If you extrapolate from that formula and you understand, you figure it out, even with the bigger numbers, you can send spaceships like Elon Musk is right now to orbit the Earth, and miles above space. Once you understand and grasp the formulation, the underlying principles, then everything else is much easier to get to. But until people understand the very real principles, then once again, if you go into the political realm, it's just back to the team A, team B, team red versus team blue, or even if you create a team purple or whatever, you're still participating in team sports where some people are going to gravitate towards that. And the ones that are going to gravitate towards a more liberty oriented one are people that, like you and I, that care about it. But we have to recognize in Canada, we're in that minority. Why? Because the people that probably be right there with us don't even fully understand what liberty means. So until you get them to understand what that is or what government means, then we're never going to get those people that we need to get on our side, the lefties, the right wingers, the conservatives, the socialists, the commies. Until we get all these people understand what the state is, it's just us.
I agree. And it's because it's like the Matrix, right? We're all born into the system. We're all born into mush, into the system. We're brought into school with just a system, and we're taught what they want us to learn and everything else. It's not until you hit maturity, when I'd say, probably late 20s, to be honest with you, when you're done your partying and your college and fucking whatever, when you're out in real life working and you get, you're getting that first big paycheck and you see, fuck, where'd my fucking $700 go? Fuck. You know what I mean? To a lot of people, that's the big wake up call when they see that first fucking big paycheck and half of it's gone. So,
but you know what?
But that's the battle. Right. That's the battle we're all in, because we're born into the system, and it takes again some people longer to realize what the system is than others. Right. So. Right, but how do you?
I love your Matrix analogy.
And how do you?
Actually, I'm gonna.
Go ahead.
Go ahead.
No, go ahead.
No, I'm going to use your Matrix analogy and perfectly think about even the movie. How did that play out? Right, there were a very small group of people that actually already had the red pill, right, and it took and the central figure, the focal figure, was Neil, right? It was this individual that took the red pill and went on that journey himself, right, to learn about these things and to make the decision. Do you want to go back to? So you're right. But it was never a point.
But how did they do that? They went into the system. They kept going back into the Matrix.
They had to show
to destroy it.
They had to show that he's literally hooked up to a machine, right? That none of your life is actually real. That's what I'm trying to do. But rather than, like I said,
in the movie, to change it, they went into the system and destroyed it. Right, and that's what we're trying to do. We're trying to get into the system to destroy it.
Yes, but the system that we're talking about is mostly up here, because the buildings and whatever, all these other intangible or inanimate objects, that's not what we got to worry about. It's the people that are in charge of these. So it's all up here for us. The Matrix was an actual some computer, and if we ever get to the simulation thing, then we might have to do a whole lot of different, right? Start being coders, right? But right in the tangible world that we live in, it's not some alien species that's got us all hooked up, but it's basically along the same concept. So for us to unplug from the Matrix is to give people these amazing truths. That's the only thing. Like I said, the only thing that's ever helped me. No politician has ever convinced me that we have to eliminate the belief in the state as the pretense for how we socially or economically engage. The only thing that helped me was people that said the state is a mystical concept, and I had to work through that through my head and see, were they lying, or they manipulating, or they deceive me? And once again, all I had to do is extrapolate the concept and figure out, does it fit universally? just like with math. And I'm good. I've always been really good at math. So I guess that's probably put me in a good position to try to figure this stuff out, to analyze it better. So if the only thing that's ever worked for me, and I'm sure even you, I think most people that get to the point where you understand the concept probably had to go through a really, really hard transition of not just, not having faith in a political party, but realizing that, yeah, you're hooked up, you're in the matrix here. So, and like I say, I would like to think that we can keep convincing people that we can change the system without waking everyone up. But like I say, we can't, because there's the minute those of us, let's say even you or I or Neo, let's use the matrix thing, want to go in and destroy the thing. Well, we're going to have, once again, in the movies, the little team won against the big team, right? But are we 100% assured that we're going to win against the 37?
We need people like me and you who do these, these podcasts and tries to reach the masses this way. We need that to battle. We need that to battle their system, right?
Right.
We also need to promote.
You guys got to support me and stop turning their backs away from me. Yeah.
And me and Mark, when you went offline, me and Mark talked about that. We don't want that. We 100% want to support what me, you, and Cody and everybody else wants to do. We don't want to shut that down at all. That's not that's not what we're trying to do at all. But we also want you and me, right? What I'm also trying to do by what this was all about was joining both groups together to prop each other up to bring the system down, right?
Exactly.
So we use
under a message, though, right? We have to be unified under the message. Like I say, the only thing that we can agree on, which is why, to me, I'm eliminating all the bullshit, because if we play politics, we'll find that we'll all disagree with that. But we all agree on the philosophical concepts, the philosophical principles of non-aggression principles, self-ownership. And so let's make that the priority rather than politics. Like I say, once we get people understanding the grasp of these philosophical concepts and these principles, then the politics will kind of fall out, and it'll happen the way, well, or at least closer to aligned with what we want, because we'll have a healthy dose of society, or a percentage of society, that firmly grasp them. But once again, if we continue to play the politics, well, people are just going to get into that political mindset, and then it's just,
we don't want to play politics.
Right.
We want to educate the masses to get like-minded people to be elected to change the culture.
But the election, okay,
well, I get the election, and I get what you're saying, but the oppressors we have are not going to leave unless they're kicked out one way.
100%, 100%.
Right? So one way.
Well, there's another way to do it other than politics, man.
No, and I get this. This is what my point is. One way is to storm the fucking parliament and fucking physically remove them, and then replace them with like-minded people that minimum, or not replace them, or whatever we decide to do. That can be debated after, or we educate the masses and we start changing the culture through elections, like the left did. That's how the left did it.
But they didn't change it through elections. They changed it through the culture, and the elections followed suit. So what it is they create a whole bunch of statists. They create a whole bunch of socialists, and then the socialists voted for the socialist policies, which was, whether it was the liberals or the conservatives, whichever one offered.
Party and the NDP party. That's how they got in. They created socialists. So what we're trying to do,
you had to have the population. You had to have a population of Canadians that were advocates and promoters of socialism for the party to exist.
I understand that,
but we don't have a population of Canadians that are libertarians.
You're right, but that's what we're trying to do. We are trying to educate the masses to get a party like the Libertarian Party in.
Right, but you got to get. But you can't put the cart before the horse.
No, but that's not what we're trying to do. Mark is just used the PPC party, just like Tim Moen tried to use using the Libertarian Party to not necessarily.
I wouldn't say they're the same.
I'm not saying they're the same, but I'm saying idealistically they are kind of the same, because they want to use that party as a platform to try to change the culture and try to educate people. Did Mark expect to win an election? Probably not. But he did use it as a platform to reach like the PPC people did reach 300,000 people.
Yeah,
so,
but that was across the entire country, right?
Yeah, I agree, but that was a start.
But that's the thing. See, it's weird. It's weird that you think that Mark reached the people that were going to vote for him. How?
Well, this is what we're saying.
It wasn't through politics, man. It was through social media.
That's why I think we all agree. We need each other. We need social media to push libertarian values and philosophy.
Yep.
To start getting people like Tim Moen elected to start changing the culture within the House.
Yes, no, I agree. But like I say, but what the priority has to be is doing our, like I say, and it doesn't have to be just social media. Social media is to reach people that you just can't physically. Because to me, social media is good, but I like actually, I'm pretty decent at articulating myself online. But I think when I'm face to face with a person, I think they take me even more serious. And I think they read the emotions in me better and realize that, this guy really cares. So I think actually I can convince more people to understand these philosophical concepts even in person. But because I can't, obviously, one person reach out. So whether we're doing it online, it's not politics. What it is when you see someone going to vote for a party, all it is someone has accepted and adopted the ideas that someone else promoted. So what I'm saying is let's stop trying to promote all these different ideas. Like I say, or I mean, do your thing. I'm saying you can do two things at once. So if people are like, say you're a Wexiter or you're a guy that's all about the Freedom Party, or once again, there has to be some kind of at least hierarchy in terms of what we're going to adhere to, and not people, but the ideas, right? So the three things, like the non-aggression principle, self-ownership, progress, that should be, if there's going to be a hierarchy, that should be priority. And then everyone else, if you want to do other secondary things, like I say, whether it's running a political party or create a band and make songs that are all about, let's vacate the state, or, putting on plays that advocate for a minarchy state, a night watchman, anything that you can do to help get people understand these ideas much better, like I say, that will actually contribute to it. But the hierarchy has to be the ideas and the philosophy of liberty. Because if we put politics out in front of the big ideas, then the big ideas, just like me, we get obscured, because it's so easy for people to get into politics, because politics is the most divisive thing so people are like, philosophy for most people seems boring, which is why to me, that's why the left is so good at the culture, because they take something that's boring, right? And they make it exciting for the people so that they want to.
Right. And I've talked to Tim Moen about that. And that's what I say we need to start doing. We need to start showing and educating people on the masses of the benefits of liberty and actual freedoms, but how it benefits them. Yeah. Right. And it's actually very easy to do. Right. You just, again, go back to the paycheck analogy. Hey, wouldn't you rather have that $500 to decide what to do with yourself? You probably could use that. Right. When was the last time you went to the hospital? Oh, like 5 years ago? Huh. Weird. How much does that cost you? Yeah. Right. Yeah. So it's actually really kind of easy to do. But again, we need to prop up. So how do we can philosophize and educate the masses, but again, it comes down to how to change the culture, and that's to prop up people like Tim Moen, to try to get people like him into the House to change the culture and bring into our philosophies into effect. Right, because at some point we need to do that. Right, we can talk to our faces are blue, but we need to bring these into effect somehow. And our oppressors aren't just going to give it to us. Yeah. Right. So, like, we need to use our platform, your platform, Mark's channel, the Revolution's channel to educate the masses on our philosophy. But we need to show people, hey, if you like our philosophy, here's how you put it into effect. Vote for the people that have our philosophy.
Yeah, yeah.
Right? So
and the only one that really does, though, that's the thing with the PPC, which is, and I put in a lot of effort too, so I understand why everyone's a little frustrated from, the PPC. But that's why, to me, the PPC has to go the wayside. To me,
I agree.
The Libertarian Party, because really, like I say, and I kind of feel bad about the fact that I let Tim down on that, but what it was is I thought that because it was something new, Very few people understood that the Libertarian Party even existed. Like a lot of us.
Well, and Bernie had a bigger name.
Yeah, exactly. Right.
So we thought our ideas, and I was probably the same as you. I thought and I think Mark was the same way. I think yes, and I think Mark was the same way. He saw the PPC. Mark saw the PPC party as the party had our ideas, and Bernie had a big name and could push our ideas further. Right? Whether it was fully what we want or whatnot, it was a step forward with a big Canadian name that we've never had before.
Right. So now see that we've done that experiment, right? So now that we've done it, like we don't even have to hypothesize this scenario. We literally did it. We've all of us that are all active participants in the liberty movement and trying to do our best to get this country on a much better footing where we're respecting each other's autonomy and our sovereignty and all that. We all tried it and it failed miserably, which is why, like I say, let's put the PPC to bed, right?
No, and I agree with you. And the PPC
and we got to rally if we care about the ideas, the Libertarian Party. If you want to talk about politics, because then when you send someone to the Libertarian Party and they're reading the preamble or the platform, they're not going to get the kind of middle of the road. The PPC did pretty good, but like I say, what I realized. And it kind of confirmed with the only time that ever broke me out of my mindset, the statist mindset, was to hear the whole truth and nothing but the truth. Not the milk toast, not the minarchist. Minarchism didn't get me to my concept. It's the full on, even the anarchist, the genuine philosophical libertarians. It's the understanding of reality. Like once you understand and grasp reality and you have that knowledge, then you'll never go back. I'll admit the PPC did some pretty good political messaging. They were very close in some regards to very libertarian. So it appealed. Right. But once again, it wasn't enough. It wasn't shocking enough. It wasn't enough to get that message out to the actual people who are the fence sitters or the ones that are, they still looked at it. And even the Canadian public, they fell for it. They looked at it as all it took was the media to say, oh, look, they're just anti-immigrant, right? And then a lot of the people just fell for a hook, line, and sinker. Whereas, like I say, the libertarian principles and the values and the platform are all acknowledging things that I think every Canadian, bar none,
the Libertarian Party, if we did it right, and we use the activists and we use our social media right and educate the masses correctly and bring forth a message of equality in the sense of everybody has the same rights. Everybody is equal in that aspect, whether you're black, gay, brown, Asian, it doesn't matter. You have the same rights as everybody else. And if we educate the people of the roots of our party, as the example of the Ontario Libertarian Party was created by gay people, because in an act of protest and activism for gay rights, because they wanted at that, back then when the party was first created, it's a lot different now, but back when they were first created, gays were shunned upon. Right. So they actually created the Libertarian Party because they wanted everybody to have the same rights. So I think if we educated the masses on our histories of our parties and what we actually stand for, I think we can appeal to a lot of even the hardcore socialists. I think a lot of socialists they like the idea of everyone's equal, not necessarily understanding that the state is actually going to take control of your whole life.
Exactly. Actually, a lot of socialists that I've talked to a lot of them have really good intentions, and I don't think they're bad people at all. It's just a lot of them are just fucking economically illiterate, and I think that's a big thing if you don't understand economics and how money is derived.
But again, you're born into the matrix, and they don't teach you that shit in school unless you actually teach. That's why we're here.
That's why we're or the people that are good at doing it. That's why it's really important to promote the people that can help get people up to speed. But anyways, just two things I wanted to say. So, and because I want to actually promote your site, because I think actually something like even your site can do a whole lot better than just going to vote once every 4 years. That's the kind of thing that, like I say, because then it does bring people together And I think so. Before we get off, I want to definitely help promote your thing. But what I want to just point out, I don't know, one other person I was talking to, I brought this up because when you're talking about these concepts, another way for people to visualize in their mind. So think about slavery, right? Everyone alive today in Canada, except for, once again, those rare exceptions or outliers that might still advocate for slavery, would all admit that slavery is immoral and should not be allowed, right? So ban slavery. But the only reason why people understand that today, because we didn't try to say a little bit of slavery is okay, minimal slavery. Like if you only plunder 30% of their labor, then that's not the only way people grasp the concept properly is to say that slavery itself is immoral, right? So, and slavery didn't even cease to exist once people started promoting that. Only way it started to exist was by people constantly being reminded by their neighbor or other people around them, like, you shouldn't own a human being. You know what I mean? And those people that were owned fighting and saying, no, you don't own me, right? So if you have enough of your society, your citizenry, without any force involved, saying, no, if you own human beings, you're a bad person, you're an immoral piece of shit, I won't do business with you, I will never talk to you, I will shun you, and shunning and doing that kind of stuff is much better. Does a lot to actually affect and change people's habits, behaviors, and what they do. So to me, the Jones Plantation is what politics represents. And it's I don't know if you ever watched, do you know who Larkin Rose is?
No. Okay,
so he's an American. He definitely identifies as an anarchist, and he's actually made some great videos. And one of the videos he's made on his channel, if you want to check it out, like I say, Larkin, Larken Rose. And if you check out his video called The Jones Plantation, it perfectly explains, metaphorically, of course, kind of the system we're functioning under now, where Mr. Jones, rather than actually eliminating the plantation, basically just convinced and tricked the slaves that I'm going to say you're free. And rather than me always being the master, well, every once in a while, I'm bringing in Mr. Smith here. And you know what? If you think I'm treating you poorly, right, and I'm not giving you your freedoms or, respecting your autonomy, then you can just get rid of me and you can, you can get Mr. Smith, vote for Mr. Smith, and he'll take over the plantation for that term, right? But what you end up at the end of the day is you still have an entire population of people are on the plantation. And the only reason why they're willing to stay on the plantation is because they've been convinced that the plantation it's still legit. It's just that they've been tricked in their mind to thinking that they're employees now instead of slaves, right?
100%. Yeah, I know this theory. Yeah, and right. I agree with this theory.
So that's why to me, the politics, like to me, I don't know how things are going to happen once slavery ended, or people back then didn't know how things were going to unfold. And I'm sure there was a lot of scariness. Who's going to pick the cotton is what we hear the most. But there's probably a lot of other things that people were like, oh, shit, how are we going to do any of this if I don't have slaves? But
they figured it out quick.
Right. And I believe in the modern age that we live in today, and with people like Elon Musk, like when you're worried about that if we vacate the state, that there's going to be this anarchy and we're all I think that there's so much information at our disposal and technology and ability that I'm not worried about that we're going to turn into, is that potential? Yes, but I'd rather be right, or I'd rather be honest and forthright with the people, even though I don't know how that's going to unfold. But I think if I'm honest and forthright with the people, I think the best people in society, and give them the freedom to do so, because that's the other thing, then we can unleash the potential of not just one Elon Musk. Hell, there might be another 10 or 20 other Elon Musks out there just waiting in the winds to be able to gain that freedom. Hey, I could be, I'm not necessarily, but I'm just saying, could be you, could be lots of people out there that we don't know that don't have the opportunities. Why? Because the state prevents that. So if we can get people in the right mindset, then the future, I think, like I say, there's nothing, I'm not so optimistic that I don't think bad things are going to happen, but I think there's much more potential for the better things to happen if we're completely honest with people. And like I say, politics, you can't be honest with people because you have to still pretend that the plantation is legit. So it's like, I don't want to do that. It kind of bothers me that I would feel guilty by doing that. If I wasn't, actually, I told my wife this a few times. I actually wish I wasn't as knowledgeable about things that I am, because the reason why I can't even advocate for any kind of statism without feeling guilty is because I know how inherently immoral and evil it is. So I just don't want to do it, which is why I want more and more Canadians to recognize that, so that we can function and come together. Like I say, because the ideas are what will help us get the concepts that's going to build the future of tomorrow. And I think like there's a lot of Canadians that have pent up skills that are in great demand today, but they're not being unleashed because we're so centrally planned, so dominated, so controlled. And the people that are fighting for liberties have been like, look, I'm basically not allowed to work because I would never work for government, and you know, I could get a good paycheck for that, but it's like, well, I got to eliminate that process. I won't work for big corporations. Why? Because they're basically in bed with government. So basically, I'm relegated to a space where I've got very minimal to work from. Whereas if people would give people like myself a chance, give us the opportunity to put our ideas into fruition or to expand upon them, like, you know, be nice if maybe an established media outlet, right? Just one. Give a libertarian a voice so that they can, but they won't. Why? Because they benefit from the state. So they're not. So once again, anyways, that's a good enough ramble there, Greg. So
see, my like when I go to rallies and when I talk on my podcast, I'm always promoting Tim Moen because he promotes the ideas that I believe in, right? But I want him in the House to change it within the House. Because the people in there, it's either that or, you know, you go in with guns a-blazing like they ended slavery, right? Yeah. So I don't want that. I don't want Canadians dying because I also am a full believer of the Non-Aggression Act, and I don't believe, you know, any idea is worth dying for. I think, you know, ideas should be shared and debated, civilized.
If your opponent like that's the thing though, that kind of idealism is a little bit scary for me because, and I'm totally with you right up to the point is, and you can take that all the way up to the point until your opponent puts the gun to your head. What do you do then? You know what I mean?
That's different. Then it's defense, right?
Right, and right? that's actually what you would be doing today, right? Because the state does, metaphorically, mind you, you don't have a cop out there putting the gun to your head. But don't abide by all the edicts, and you will find out that they well.
But if we get enough followers, to prop up someone like Tim Moen, right, where enough that he gets voted in, then that's metaphorically putting a gun to their head to change their thinking.
Yep. Which is why, like I say, don't worry about Tim Moen in the political realm, because, like I say, we want to wait till people are to the point where they understand things, and you might finally realize that maybe we don't need politics after all. Because I think that's the truth. But I'm still, like I say, I'm still holding out, and the reason why I keep giving people that are minarchists that, and that, which is why it pissed me off when Mark said about the status thing. I'm giving you status the opportunity to prove your shit's going to work, and I'm literally constantly showing you that it doesn't. But I'm still here with you. I'm still willing to walk down the road with minarchists, because a minarchist is saying, I still want to use the gun, but only very limited times. Well, so I'm still willing to walk down the road with a guy that will still use force against me, but at least I know he's only going to do, at least if I understand the only time he's going to do it is in this example or this example, I can watch my P's and Q's when I'm around them and just don't, do that, right? But the thing is, without putting politics into it, is don't worry about Tim Moen. You, Greg, you are just as important as Tim Moen is, because Tim Moen can only reach out to people that are willing to listen to him. You and we have people that will maybe never listen to Tim Moen, but they'll listen to us because they know us personally. They trust us. They know what our aspirations, they know what our intentions are. So don't worry about a politician, and nothing against Tim. Tim would agree with anyways, it's up to each and every one of us. And if we can get even like our neighbor, maybe one person, just a neighbor, and if we live and we start practicing those freedoms and those liberties and those principles that we all espouse, it will permeate through our culture. And like I say, you might find out eventually, and it might start in just certain areas, certain segments of Canada, where there's some places where you're like, well, we don't really need to, who cares who the hell's in power? You got a bunch of dipshits that think they run things, but we do things in our community. Fuck what they say. And even if we have cops, as long as you got cops that are in your community and are libertarians too, if the politicians say, oh, I want you to go fuck this person over because they grew a plant or they're selling a plant or what, well, that cop would never obey that order. Why? Because they're a libertarian. They realize, oh, wait a minute, fuck you. You're an authoritarian piece of shit. So once again, you wouldn't need politics. You just need a healthy culture of people that understand these concepts. And like I say, and once people see that kind of success, which is why the American experiment happened in 200 years so fast. Once you see how much freedom and liberty, once you give people their freedoms and their liberties, and you see how much that will expand and not just the growth of their personal happiness and their meaning in their life, but the economic prosperity that results as a consequence of that. Like I say, then eventually people are like, oh yeah, remember back when we used to vote for these idiots? Like I say, it's all up here, man. And I'm not suggesting.
I agree. Like even if you got 99% of the people on board, I don't think you're ever going to get that 100%. Just because. Never. But there has to be something or someone or some in place to protect against even that 1%.
Yeah.
Right?
Well, that's why the Second Amendment in the U.S. was so important and why they set it up as a militia. The U.S. realized, the founding fathers, they didn't even set up a standing army. Why? Because they knew the minute you create a federalized, centrally planned army, even if you have the best of intentions, it's going to be taken over. Like I say, because the military is what represents the real bulk of force, right? So the people who are in positions of power or authority, that's the place they're going to want to take over first and foremost.
So when you say state, you mean federal?
No, any state, local.
Okay. But that's my question: is who protects? Say I have an idea, I invent something, but someone steals my idea. Who do I go to, other than putting a gun to that person's head and say, "Stop doing that"? Myself, who would I go to get to make that person stop using my idea?
Well, first of all, what kind of, like, if
in your ideal system?
No, but like what's the idea? What's the idea? No, but that's what I mean. There is no such thing as an ideal system. There is none. All I'm saying, it's just like me. Like when people say, even when people say, "Oh, you need the police to protect you from crime," right? I mean, I've lived 50 years. I've never seen. I'm not saying it's never happened, but overwhelming majority of crimes happen, and the police come after the fact.
Oh, 100%. Yeah.
So no matter what
nothing's going to protect you from crime.
You need to protect yourself. Like if I was someone, if I come up with an idea, I'd keep that idea very close to my heart. I wouldn't tell it to anybody until I've established, like if it was an idea for a business, let's say, I'd make sure I established the business. I would make sure that I'm so good at the business that even if somebody found out that idea somehow, that my business model would be so exceptionally well done, and the customers were served so well at a price point that's conducive with, they want to buy that stuff up really quick, then I wouldn't have to worry about competition or someone stealing my idea. And I'm not even worried about necessarily someone stealing my idea per se, because if someone can take my idea, make it appeal to people in the business sense, mind you, make it appeal to people and they benefit society, because that's the thing. It's not just the CEO or the business owner that benefits from, the guy that invented air conditioners, right? Sure, he made himself rich, but holy fucks, a lot of millions of people, especially, in hot countries, are like, damn, I benefit a lot from that too. So the idea, but are you talking about, I'm talking ideas in terms of business, but were you talking about a different kind of idea or?
No, I was talking in a business idea.
Yeah. So
right? Like there's patent laws where, like say I will use the air conditioner thing. Like you can't make an air conditioner, use my idea for so long. And then it becomes, then I have to, you know what I mean? That's the government aspect of it.
Yeah, but what happens, right? Think about what happens every time that someone creates a patent so let's say the first guy that invented the air conditioner and they used whatever, right? And this particular, they can only patent their ideas. They can't patent someone else taking the concept, tweaking it in a new way and coming up with something different and they create their own patents. So it's competing businesses. They're not the exact same. This person might have used completely different fundamentals to get to the same outcome, but another person might find another way to do it. Because even if the person steals your idea, let's say you were the guy inventor of the air conditioner, not only does the guy get to steal the idea, but you're relying on the guy. He has to not only understand the idea so that he can market it to the customers, but he has to understand it in order to manufacture it. He has to be able to create some semblance where he can have, thousands or tens of thousands of people across the globe, because to manufacture an air conditioner, you need plastic, you need steel, you need refrigerant. So you got resources and materials that come from all places all across the globe. For someone to be able to take your idea and do it better than you, then they've had to put in a whole lot of effort themselves, a whole lot of capital, a whole lot of.
So maybe not just the product, but what would stop me from saying opening a company named Nike and selling shoes?
What do you mean? Like because Nike's already not there now, you mean?
Yeah.
Right now there's companies that do that right now in China and all kinds of places.
Yeah,
well,
they don't call themselves Nike and use the same swoosh, right? So what would stop me from doing that?
But they get the same effect, right?
What do you mean?
There's people right now that'll still buy those cheap knockoff shoes. No,
100%.
Nike, but people will still buy them. So they're taking this away from Nike for people to pretend they got Nikes, right?
But more people would buy something that would say Nike with the proper swoosh, even if not thinking it's real. Like I'm portraying, I'm saying I'm Nike. Yeah. I'm just saying I'm Nike. You know what I mean?
Right,
here's some shoes. I'm not really Nike, but I'm portraying. I'm fucking people basically.
But why do you think Nike got to be Nike? Why is Nike such a recognizable name? Because they did a lot of work to make sure that they were comfortable, lightweight, durable. They did things that were exceptional in comparison to all the other shoe manufacturers. Now, there's other ones other than Nike, like you got your Adidas, but the ones that rose to the top, obviously the ones that created products that were vastly superior to their competition.
I agree.
So if someone else creates a product that's like Nike, why the fuck would they want to adopt the Nike? If they've created a product that's as equal to Nike that people are going to buy it and still consume them, rather than pivoting back to Nike, because I know the cheap shoes and
because Nike's the name. No, I don't know they're completely cheap until after I buy them and wear them for 10 days and they fall apart. But I've already sold them. I already have the money, right?
Yeah. But how long? But how long does it take for word of mouth to get around with the like? How many people like in your area? Like if you bought shoes, how long is it going to take before your shoes falling apart? Or even if 10 other people and they're like, "Oh, I'll never buy that shoe again because they were garbage," right? It's same.
But with online's really easy just to keep doing it over and over under a new website.
Well, if you're talking about online stuff, actually, that would be really easy because you can use blockchain technology, smart contracts, because those things actually can make sure and hold everyone to account, right? So with Nike, all you would have to do if you're Nike, you have your own official, I don't know if it's something that you build on the blockchain that this is the only way that you can buy a Nike is through this particular app. You can use whatever currency you want, but a Nike can only be purchased through this particular smart contract type app so that they make sure the money goes directly to Nike, right?
Yeah, but I could make a website that just says, "Oh, here's some Nike shoes."
Sure, you could.
Online.
But nobody's going to buy your shoes if your shoes aren't. If someone buys your shoes and they're not even close to what Nike's comfort or durability,
they won't buy again. 100%.
Yeah.
But I could make another website that do the same thing and trick them again.
Sure. And if people, right? No, 100%. What you're doing right now is you're setting up one of those things where no matter how many times I knock down your arguments, and I get it. Listen, I love doing these things, but I could do every one of them all day long if you want, because like I say, the person that does that, just like with eBay, is the reputation. Okay, they might get away with doing it one time, right? And they've but now. They've got an entire, I don't know, was it 10 customers, 100 customers, 1,000 customers, and you don't have a state to protect them from because they did something that was immoral. They took money from people through fraud. So if you had thousands of people and you don't have a state to protect you from those thousands of people that now you've sold shoes, and I'm like saying, the information age, not hard to find out where people live, not hard to find out where this business is. It's just what you're doing when people are advocating for the state is you're saying, I need those people to act on my behalf. Personal responsibility. If somebody fucks me over, I'll find a way. And if I can't do it myself, I'm sure I can find somebody else that might help me, right? To go against these people that have screwed me over. And that's actually the only way that holds people to account. The state doesn't. What holds people to account is like I've used this example time before. You know what's a real peaceful place? Put 100 people in a room and all 100 of them have the same gun. Now you got a real peaceful place, but take 100% of the people having the gun. Now only give 95% people the gun, and you'll find out that 5 of those people that don't have the gun, they're the ones that's going to be automatically oppressed. Where at least if you give everyone the opportunity, doesn't mean that nobody's going to shoot anyone ever. That's still always the potential, but you've now greatly reduced the potential for that to happen because everyone recognizes that, oh shit,
I recognize
now I got to suffer the consequences of my action, because that's what the state just removes everybody's personal accountability, their personal responsibility, and now we just blame everything on the state. So nobody's ever held to account. Trudeau will never be held to account because people don't believe in holding these, because they think those people are in authorities that there's nothing I can do. Well, if you didn't believe that shit, and there weren't a bunch of mindless enforcers out there on the West Block, or whatever you call the Parliament building out there, whatever, that were defending them, Trudeau would not have the balls to economically enslave millions of Canadians if he didn't have a bunch of mindless order followers out there standing outside the Parliament defending them. Right? That is what it comes down to the end of the day, is personal autonomy, personal responsibility, and our acknowledged inherent right and ability to defend ourselves against anyone that uses force or fraud, coercion, or theft towards us. That's the only thing that we've always had. That's all we've ever had through all of human history. That's why when people say libertarians are idealists, no, we realize whether you want to live in the state of nature or in a society where we structure our environments with rules, we all recognize there's always going to be bad people that's always going to try to do bad things. The only thing that's going to protect me from bad people trying to do bad things is me having the ability to defend myself. I cannot, and nor would I ever rely on, like when I lay my head down at night, I don't think, oh, I'm glad there's a police station 40 miles away. Oh, I'm going to be safe tonight. Never one day, never once in my life.
No, and I agree with that. Now, I'm going to like to flip it though. Like, yep. and not talking about politically, but talking about corporate. We have rich people who've created like a Walmarts or like, big video game toy companies or whatever, right? So I'm a small guy trying to start out. I create like a toy, say a toy. I create a toy, and then a company like Mattel or a big company comes along, finds out about my toy, and steals my toy and sells my toy and doesn't include me. That's the worry I kind of have too, right? Big companies that are already established because of the cronyism in the system we have now can still step on the small person and oppress the small person. So,
and it all happens under the state with all these.
No, and I agree with that, and I agree with that because it's the state that's created this problem by getting in bed with these big companies, and I totally agree with that. We can try to change the state and get rid of the state, but we still will have these big corporations that can still now be like, fuck all your little guys' ideas.
Well, they can try to use their economic might, but once you vacate the state, they're no longer a corporation, because a corporation is an act of legislation. All you have to do is look it up. Like I say, I don't invent things. This is the reality. A corporation is an act of legislation, just like the Bank of Canada is an act of government created corporation. Government, the very act of the corporation, is what gives these people legal cover so they can socialize their losses and not be held responsible. The minute you don't have the state to protect them, once again, that CEO of that big giant corporation, sure, he might want to run rickshot over the little guy, but that little guy might have a few other friends, or that little guy might know a guy in a bigger corporation that can say, oh, really? Well, we can retaliate a bit. Like I say, there's always going to be a scenario where there's some scammer trying to scam you. There's going to be phone people like, hey, I'm the CRA. You're going to jail. You got $1,000. No, I'm not from Nigeria, right? There's always going to be idiots that are going to try to rip us off. But once again, the best way to protect yourself is take off the shackles. Not going to guarantee every time by taking off the shackles. I can't even guarantee all 37 million Canadians, if we vacate the state, right? There's still going to be bad things that happen. But you're going to have a much better chance of surviving it if the shackles are at least taken off, and the people that you're countering or going against, at least if the rest of the members of your community don't believe that they're your authority and that you must comply. Because that's the thing. Not only can the corporations and the government do shit, all your neighbors can watch them while they drag you the fuck off to wherever they're going to take you. And they'll allow that to happen because they believe in that authority. Like I say, that to me is the most important thing. Remove people's concepts in their minds so they don't believe that these people have authority. Because then the CEO is just the guy that owns a business. Now, all of a sudden, he's lost all that government protection. Now he doesn't have the state where he can call up and, hey, you better protect me. Otherwise, you won't have all these taxes, or I'll tell on you for, then you lose all that protection that the state provides to the bad people. And I mean, like I say, who was it? Frederick Bastiat. It comes down to that simple concept. If you believe that there are bad people in society, which I do, right? Whether it's a minority or a majority, then the only way that you're ever going to benefit yourself and the rest of society is to unshackle the people and give them their freedoms. Don't give anyone the pretense of authority over other people, because the minute you've done so, that's the minute, no matter how minarchist, like even the founding fathers, if they realized, they probably would have reworded the document a little bit better to make sure that, although at the time, I think they did an exceptional job. If I think back 200 and whatever years ago it was, yeah, no wonder these guys, it was a minarchist state because they realized that there was no such thing. You were going to set up these 13 colonies without having some kind of, so I understand what they were thinking, but this is 200 and some years ago. We've had 200 years of that experiment to realize that, okay, now we've got to, next time, if there's another experiment to take place in how we're going to socialize and economically cohabitate or cooperate with each other, yeah, we got to remove this pretense of giving people authority. We don't have to remove all the things that we want the state to do. So just like when I was saying earlier about the militia, I, as a Canadian, and trust me, 100%, not lying to you in one stretch, if anyone ever came to me, and I'm on the shores on the East Coast, so actually I'm not worried about the UK, but if I was on even the West Coast and some Asian country were coming to the shores to invade or something, let's say China decided they're going to take over the world, right? I don't need to be signed up to a federalized military. I'd be first and foremost. And because if we had things like what the US had, which are militias, where you do train people in armed combat, you teach them how to use defense to protect, because all you're talking about at the end of the day is people that are willing to defend their country. But the beautiful thing about the idea of the militia and the founding fathers is they said, oh, it's not just to protect from foreign threats. No. The reason why we need the militia, not a standing army, is because we recognize actually the biggest threat is probably going to come from within. That's why the militias were so important, is because if we have a standing army, well, that's what the state will use to quell any uprising. But if we have a bunch of militias that are just people in their communities that are protected each community, it's much harder to try to knock down 1,000 different militias than it is to knock down like one central army, like let's say the British Army, where you can basically foretell what their strategies are going to be. So whether you want to use the utilitarian aspect of it or just the freedom aspect of it, militias are much better in terms of preventing foreign invasions. Well, the Emperor of Japan, you've heard this, right? The Emperor of Japan basically admitted, now we're not invading mainland US, and it wasn't because of the military, it was because 300 or whatever, not at that time, but however many 100 million Americans had, they said like there was what, I don't know, a couple 100 million guns behind every blade of grass, or there was a gun behind every blade of grass. And you have the Switzerland people in Europe, which, think about it, Europe is another classic example where look at all these fucking dipshit states that constantly fighting, warring with each other. And here's little old Switzerland that wanted to just, hey, leave me the fuck out of your bullshit. Well, they realized that, oh, if we want to be pacifist in that way, well, shit, the only way we're going to be able to do that without being taken over or invaded by all these other surrounding states is to make sure our population is well armed and capable of protecting themselves, which is why, if you're 18 years or older in Switzerland, you're serving man or woman, you're serving military to make sure that you're trained in defending your country. So Switzerland, once again, Switzerland and America are two examples where you don't necessarily need to stay in an army, but you definitely need a citizenry who are trained and adapted in the art of war and are willing to defend themselves.
Well, the other thing that the founding fathers did right was they recognized that different areas of the country have different needs and wants. So they minimized the power that the feds have and gave more power to the local states and communities, which is a lot better than what we have, because our provinces, our country's huge. And like our provinces are vastly, like I've been to pretty much all the provinces, and every one is vastly different. So to think like as a Canada, like my needs are going to be the same as someone in the Northwest Territories or Alberta or Saskatchewan, that's ridiculous. So the states did it right in that aspect, as well as they gave more power to the local states than the feds. Like they have more say over themselves than the collective whole. And that's what a republic is. We're not a republic. We're democracy. We're mob rule here.
And we're one of the, actually in the world, we're actually one of the worst almost. Well, I mean, because of our parliamentary system and the way it's set up, it's not even majority. Like, if you rely on 51% or 50 plus 1% or 50 plus one person, it'd be a completely different scenario, because I don't know if any of these parties would be able to gain that kind of support. To be honest with you, you'd probably have minority governments from now until eternity, because in reality in Canada, it's about 38-39%. And that's just of those who choose to participate in the vote, which, like I say, just to go back 2 elections, because that's a number I remember, out of 24 million eligible Canadians at that time that were eligible to vote, 10 million showed up. 14 million showed up, 10 million stayed home. So even if you take that 38-39% they gave the Liberals, or I think it was back then, it was the Conservatives, their majority, you're still left out a huge chunk, like 10 million. So really, if you take that 38-39% as a proportion of the actual population of Canada, actually only like 20%. You only require, because of the way the ridings are set up and because of the way this first past the post system is up. Matter of fact, if you get just the right places, the big urban centers in this country, you could literally get less, probably just barely past the teens, like early 20%, and completely run rickshot over the rest of the country, which is, like you say, that's pretty bad, man.
Well, why do you think Trudeau's putting all the refugees into the big urban areas?
Yep.
Because it's easier to brainwash urban areas than it is the rural areas, because everyone's so close together and start sharing the same ideas.
Yeah.
Because not completely, but for the most point, it's easier to control the masses when they're together in a herd. Right? Yes. That's why we call them sheep.
But listen, Greg, I know we've kind of went on quite a while there, but I just wanted, like I say, before we tie this up, I did want to promote your channel, and having you on here to do it or your page is great, because you'll be able to point stuff out that I won't be able to. So let me bring this up. All right. You don't mind, right?
Yep, go ahead.
Okay. Share your screen. So let's bring this up, because like I say, I want to, because I think it was great. You guys did a great job. So while we were back, so the fuck Trudeau, the Beaver Army, and United We Stand. And like I say, I really do hope that eventually at some point in time that we can be more united. And hey, at least today, me and Mark, we didn't necessarily, come to a like kumbaya moment. But hey, at least we talked, and we've left the window or the door open to engage in further discussion. So
I think you guys are a lot more agreement than you think.
I don't doubt it for a minute. So maybe some of the people that follow Mark won't be so goddamn apprehensive and being divisive themselves, and see that, like, this is why I do what I do. I want to lead by example. If I want to form unity, then I have to be willing to engage in discussions with people that maybe I don't necessarily agree with them on a lot of things, but I am willing to do so. So all I'm saying is I've offered the olive branch. I'm more than willing to offer it to more and more people. And I'm just hoping to see, like I say, that return. But if it always ends up being me constantly putting the olive branch and everyone just fucking ignoring me or only using me for, like, that gets old at some point in time. Right? So, but anyway, let's get beyond that. So like I say, so we see that we have, so for you folks watching this too, you have lots of options to get your hands on some great t-shirts. And there you go. Look at that. Mind your damn business, Liberty Beaver. Great. Especially as a Canadian, to play on the Canadian thing. As you can see here, you can click on, like, you can see even more products. Liberty Podcast. Is this where I would find where you'd have all the different ones, I believe, Greg, right?
Yeah.
Awesome. So as you see this, folks, look at this. Like I say, this is great. And you did all this yourself, right, Greg, or what?
Yeah, I'm a little behind. I got to catch up. I've been working too much my real job. So
I think you did really, I'm really impressed. I think you did a really good job with this. But as you can see, so here he's Mind Your Damn Business with Greg and Marco, and then episode 7. There's that Cody Haler that I'm going to be talking to tomorrow. That's how you pronounce it? Haler.
Cody Haller, I think.
Haller. Okay, right on. Anyways, and as you can see, so here's, like, you can see that you got access to all the videos that those guys have done. And if you scroll on down, there you go, with Mind Your Damn Business with Tim Mullen. There you go, Liberty Angle. Oh, what's this? Oh, look at this ugly mug down there, huh? But as you can see, like, he did a great job of putting, and this is what he was alluding to. And like I said, I didn't know Greg as much earlier on, so I didn't know what exactly his intentions were. But now that I see, like, this, I think this is a great idea. This was a great idea, and I'm really happy that you did this, because if you look, the Liberty Angle, so you got options to, Stephen Mullen. Oh no, that's my own. So that's just my stuff, I guess.
And then one thing here, everybody I put on here, I don't make any money off this, and anytime you click on one of your videos, it goes to your YouTube channel, so it counts for clicks for you. It doesn't do anything for me. So it's not.
Yeah. No, I know, and that's how you know. Like I say, to me that's a big thing, and it's not a guarantee, Well, when someone's willing to do stuff, and I've been like that myself, which is why it resonates with me. When you're willing to do all this stuff, even without basically any compensation, you want it, of course, because your efforts should be rewarded, and of course yours should as well, Greg. But people are willing to do this and put this kind of work and effort into it and do it for free. I mean, at the very least, you must know they have some good intentions here. And obviously, Greg has some great intentions. He's just trying to help bring us together. And I think it's really important, which is why I was happy to have this chat with Greg today.
I've spent thousands of dollars on, this website's not free. I have T-shirt equipment and stuff. So yeah, I try to make some money back, by selling T-shirts, but that's the only way I'm making money. I don't make money at any well, I have a job, but for this, I'm also a single dad, so like I'm not a rich fucking guy.
Well, that's another thing with us living in like more of this quasi-socialist country of Canada is, people are, and with even some aspects of social media, people are so used to getting everything without that return, without the compensation, right? When I was growing up before the internet age, if you wanted a comic book, it cost money. If you want everything cost money, right? So you knew that you had to put skin in the game. That's the problem today is so many things they're not free. It's not that your stuff is free. It's just that social media is taking all your data, selling that to advertisers. So you're actually, and we all know this now, we're just the commodity. We're the actual product, right? Yeah. But yes, when someone goes to all the trouble like Greg and does all this work and creates this nice website, that's someone that's putting actual tangible time, their labor, things that they could be doing. He could be spending his time doing so many other things, right? But he chose to take hours out of his time, even money out of his pocket, to do this to help for a good cause, right? So when people do that, I think people should be rewarded. And tell you the truth, Greg, if I wish I had money so that I could help people like you out. I don't even have enough to help myself out, but I do hope that more and more Canadians will get to adopting more of the pay to play mentality and supporting people that do put in work. Get away from this socialism where you think everyone else let someone else pay for it, or the government can just shift money around here or there. It's like, no, like I say, that's how we lead by example. Like I say, the minute if I get back to work and I'm making good enough money where I have excess cash, I'll do that. I'll say, hey, Greg, here, I'll do a donation. And you know what? Why? Because I want to lead by example. And I think that's what we should do, is help support people. And if you can't do it money-wise, and I've heard Stefan Molyneux say this before too, because there are some people you're broke. You can't help money. Well, if you lack the money, and I do, well, then I make up by doing like this, right? I'm kind of helping in a way by advertising. So if I can't offer money, I'll do it in this way, and I'll share it on my social media pages. I'll share it in the link of this stream. Why? Because I want to help them. If I don't have money to offer, well, that's also a contribution. There's other ways to add value to people, and I'm trying to help Greg in this way. So like I say, let's try to do that if we can. But is there anything else you want me to? Obviously, so this is Mark Friesen right here, right? I would assume. Yeah. Or is it? Yeah. So look, so you got Mark in here too. You got the candidate protest.ca. You got Salim Mansour. So like I say, without scrolling down through the whole thing, as you can see, lots and lots of people that Greg has brought together, and you can find it all in one spot. And I think it's very convenient for people who do want to get more active, involved, and find out who are the people in Canada that are at least, trying to do the right thing and stand. Well, here's a place to look, right? And you can find some sources to reach out to. Maybe I won't appeal to you. That's fun. Like I say, in the marketplace of ideas, hey, if I lose out and other people gain as a benefit, hey, as long as the message they're getting the same message, I don't give a shit who's delivering it, to be honest with you. I just want the Canadians to get the message. And Greg has given us a place where lots of people are trying to say a message, and it's giving you the ability to, like I say, a source to find that. Anyways, go ahead, Greg.
It's great. We got Tim Moen's podcast on there as well.
Sweet.
And like it's what I listen to all these podcasts, and this is why the whole in-house fighting frustrates me, is because when I listen to all these podcasts, for the most part, we all got the same message. So I think a lot of us, me included, we need to maybe start listening and a little more to each other as well, and so that's what the website is about: bring everybody together to one place, spread our message, and hopefully educate people and bring more people on board.
Yes, I agree. Before we tie this up, is there anything else in there that I'm missing on your site that you would like me to show, or is there like a place for people to donate, or like anything like a thing?
If you want to donate, we have a Mind Your Damn Business. The easiest way is probably on our BitChute. We have a mind. You can donate directly on BitChute. Right on. But if you want something for your money, order a T-shirt. We have a lot of little T-shirts on there, so that money goes directly back into the website. So
yeah, and that's a great idea, especially with the T-shirt, because it's a way to help support you financially, but at the same time, you're getting something in return, right? You're getting that nice natural exchange. So yeah, that would be great.
That's what capitalism is all about. Voluntary exchange.
Exactly, and that's why, and that's for the socialists that get into that mindset. It's like if they just realized how much more beneficial and better off they would be if they just relied on voluntary exchange and actually understood the concept. But what it is, I think a lot of the socialists, we're all on the same team. It's just that they think that what they're railing against right now is anything remotely resembling free market capitalism. It's like, no, it's not. It's really, really not. So what it is
they have a misconception of what equality is.
Yeah, for sure. And when they're constantly railing against, like, I hear them all the time, it's like these corporations, like, yeah, I'm with you. But the corporation is just, like I say, if the state created this pretense where, like, when the financial crisis happened, the corporations, the banksters get caught with their pants down and selling a lot of those fucking retarded mortgages, those underwater ninja mortgages and shit, right? The subprime. But it wasn't the corporation. It wasn't the banksters that bailed themselves out. No, it was the central bank with big government allowing that to take place. Because if they didn't have the central bank or big government, the Fed, right, to bail them out, they would have been much wiser and out ahead to make sure that they were protecting themselves. Because trust me, the billionaire don't want to lose his yacht. He just bought that up. That's his dick measured competition against his counterparts. Now, if you take away his $150 million yacht, well, he's going to be really pissed off because now his dick got even that much smaller, right? So it's not that they will do it because they're benevolent. How you hold a corporate, like the evil corporations, to account is, take away that immunity that government affords them. That's why to the lefties, I always say, yeah, I'm with you there, but the state's what's giving them all the protection. So can we focus?
Well, the state has made drug addicts out of corporations.
Yeah,
I like to use this drug addicts as an analogy because if the drug addict didn't have that drug dealer to supply the drug, then they would have to fend for themselves and be clean. Yeah. Whereas the same with the corporations, as long as you have that state allowing them to do these things and keep bailing them out, you're actually encouraging it. So that's what needs to end. The state needs to like the first bill I would love to see is to outlaw lobbying completely. Cut it off. That way there's no connection between the state and corporations. They'll have to fend for themselves.
And what's even worse than that is, like you say, and the negative incentive structure that it creates. Well, you've already touched on a very important one, but another one equally important, as I would say, is I even picture myself. Imagine if I was someone that did come up with a great concept and idea for a business model. The only way I would ever to be able to bring that to fruition for the people to be able to enjoy it, the masses to be able to enjoy it, I would have to literally do exactly like you say. I have to do whatever, like, to compete in this quasi-fascist system where it's a top-down structure where these corporations have lobbied to eliminate competition. I would have to sell myself out to the state as well. So it automatically incentivizes me to do the wrong thing, even though my original intentions are to do the right thing. But in order for me to bring, like, for sure, a lot of these corporate execs right now that brought these great ideas to fruition, sure, they probably would have wished to have been able to do it in a free market environment if they had the right intentions. But they realized, if I'm going to bring this idea to light, well, I'm going to have to play game with the state. I gotta play ball, right? And it's a terrible thing, because I want all these business owners and these people, these entrepreneurs that come up with these great ideas, I want them to have the freedom and the autonomy to not have to bow to the whims of the state. And I want to make sure that the other corporations, the evil actors, don't have the state to give them a leg up against the good people. Because that's the part that really pisses me off. The good people have lots of great ideas, but they're never going to be able to compete with the people who have the state in their back pocket.
Well, because the state has fed the animal at the park too much, to the point where it's the only way to get fed.
Yeah, exactly. No, it's terrible, man. But I think that's a great way to just tie up this stream, because like I say, I think we did a really good job. We're at 2:42 there now, so that actually went by really quick. I didn't know if we were going to get into the Joe Rogan territory today or not, but we actually did. But it was a nice conversation, Greg. Actually, my conversation flowed pretty good with you, and like I say, I know. Well, I don't know you personally, but based on the history that we've had, it seems like you definitely really have good intentions. And so my concerns for someone like yourself have definitely been greatly alleviated. And like I say, there's a couple other people I still got to work on, but that's why, like I say, and even anyone that don't like me, ask them and say, listen, Bennett will talk, because I really will. I'll talk to anybody. Like I say, because I have no ill intentions. I'm not trying to, I'm not playing politics. I really just want to gauge who the hell am I dealing with? Because I don't know anyone from a hole in the ground other than the people that I personally know. So how do I gauge them? Well, you have to interact and engage. That's how humans, we read each other, right?
Yeah.
With subtle cues. So, and we got to talk about these things. And of course, even the reaction to the kind of things you talk about, how a person reacts can kind of define, like, do they have good intentions, bad intentions? You might even be wrong. You might need clarifiers. But like I say, at least if we're engaging in dialogue and conversation, then the people that are watching on the sidelines see, okay, these guys are leading by example. They're not just a bunch of guys that are trying to do their own thing, pump their own chest, right? It's my way, the highway, or I want to have the biggest following. And then, like I say, if we do this, I think that doing what we're doing right now is a much better way to form unity, just like with you and your website. That's going to do much more to create unity than going to the ballot box.
Yeah.
Right. I think what we're doing right now is going to create unity.
I think we need to stay off the Facebook comments too, because it just becomes vile and more division and brings in more people into negativity. I think if we do more positive videos like this, and share ideas without the negativity, because let's face it, most people in the world aren't going to talk to you like they do on Facebook comments, right?
Exactly. You're so right. Yeah.
So I think
even
more
myself.
I think more of this is better than talking to each other over Facebook comments, because you're more accountable.
Yeah, I find on Facebook, and I've even noticed myself, I'll even say things that I might not necessarily say if we were talking, where we can look each other. And it does, because it's a weird space. And the younger people that are used to this, it's a little weird, because like I say, it's the importance of us human beings. We're humans. We're social creatures. The importance for us to, even just to see each other, to look in each other's eyes, even though we're not physically in front of each other, this does a lot to hold each other to a much higher standard, as you acknowledge, than we are if we're just typing in text. That's something that actually I don't do a whole lot more of that these days, because every time it always, even when I was trying to be nice, if you don't have all the smileys or the emotive, people can even take, because you don't have the nuance, right? You can't have the emotions expressed. So I've been in argument with people. It's like, damn, we should have never even, we were basically agreeing with each other. It's just we couldn't understand each other's point. Because in text form, us humans, we were not designed, not saying that we can't adapt that at some point in time, but it's still early on enough in our development that, we're not meant to socialize in text form.
We're too guarded. And that screen without that face makes it very easy to not be open to new ideas, because you already have that shield of non-face-to-face there. So I don't need to be open to your ideas. I'm right, and I'm going to tell you to fuck off because you're wrong, right? That's the way it becomes, and it becomes like a 5-year-old fight. Whereas if we just talk like this and share ideas, it's much easier to come to some sort of an agreement, and at least respect each other more, right? That's what I would like to get to. And I'd, everybody on this website, is always welcome on our show for discussions. And I'd rather see it that way than this fighting on Facebook comments, because I'm not 12.
Yeah, me too. And the other thing that happens, I've noticed on Facebook too, although I on my end, because I've preempted anyone that knows me, so they don't do it. And if they do, I always say, bugger off. But another thing that kind of bugs me.
I've been guilty of it. I've really been guilty of it too, and I recognize that. I'm trying.
No, but what I was going to get to though is, let's say if me and Mark are exchange on Facebook, the problem with when you're doing it in text form and you have a whole lot of then you get the everyone's starting to chirp in that don't even know. They don't like me and Mark at least know what
yeah,
we
but they're forming. They start forming sides, and they start forming.
That's what I noticed. Our little exchange between me and Mark wasn't too. We were fairly cordial. It wasn't like too bad, but then I did see there was a bunch of other ones that were chiming in and started like the massive insults. And then once you start that, then you know that then you're going to get the pile on, right? It's just like, well, then like to me, it's like, well, I'm not going to stick around and start arguing with people. I have no idea who these people are. I don't know what the hell they're all about, but they have that they increase just by me commenting one time without any nuance, like in this way. It was enough for them to like turn against me. Meanwhile, like I say, if we had a conversation, it'd be just like me and you, just like me and Mark's like, oh, we agree. Oh, we agree. Oh, we agree. Right. Oh, we agree. And the only way we get that point is by talking it out.
That's right. You're going to find you agree more than you disagree if you sit down and actually understand each other.
Yep, which is why it's so important for us to keep engaging with dialogue with each other and not being so focused on just, pumping up our own channels or pumping up our own little group. Is we have to do your own thing secondary, like, or even do your, or whatever way, however way you want to prioritize it. But I think the important thing is for those of us to keep engaging with each other so that we're leading by example. Because like I say, how are we going to create unity if the people that we're trying to bring to unity, we keep them all separated from each other, right? If we want unity, I need the people that watch my video to be able to listen to Greg. And the only way they're going to be able to listen to Greg is if me and Greg talk. Because
how do you expand your audience when you're closed-minded yourself, right? Yeah. Why is Joe Rogan so successful? Because he has such a broad guests that he's expanding his own mind and his guest mind, because it's not one thing. I've tried to have people from the left on my show. Yeah, we didn't agree on a lot, but but at least we had the conversation and we still respected each other afterwards, because it wasn't a paragraph text telling me to fuck off and I hate your ideas, you racist bigot.
I know, right? Putting up that kind of barrier, that's a hard, and because once you've even done it, then it's even harder after the fact to try to break that one down to even start to form.
Because you've already put that wall up. You've already put that person on the defensive, going, wait a minute, I'm not that. Like, go fuck yourself. So,
and I just want to let everyone know that's watching the stream before we tie it up that I'll even admit, like I say, I am fallible like every human being. I'm guilty of some of the things I've accused others of doing. I'm always trying to improve myself. And like I say, I'm going to leave myself open and available to engage with people, because that's, like I say, at least if I know you're willing to engage, then we can find some semblance of agreement and find ways to put aside our differences. Because to me, and just like Greg and just like Mark, I mean, come on, the future of this country, not just for us, but you have kids, I have kids, Mark has kids. Especially have children. If some of the people that don't have any future other than themselves, I can see where they might just be willing to sit on the sidelines because, well, when I'm done, I don't really. But for those of us especially, and I'm not leaving out the people that don't have kids, maybe it's as important to them as well. But I'm just saying, for me in particular, and most people that I know that have kids, it's not just that I'm fighting for my liberties and freedoms. It's that I don't want to leave and hand off to my kids the kind of bullshit I've had to deal with over the course of my life, because other people failed me in the past. I want to make sure I don't fail my kids. I want to make sure that everything I can, right? Yeah, or worse. And it literally is going in a worse path. And I just don't think we have enough time to keep playing these games and arguing and bickering. I think it's very, very important that we, like I say, do whatever we can. Hey, if you want to curse me under your breath when we get off, go right ahead. Like, call me every name in the book. I don't even care. But at least when we're out here, like I say, let's show that we are a force, not just for unity, but to be reckoned with, because we are showing our willingness to put it. Because I think that's the message that'll be sent to the establishment. If they start seeing, right, that all these ragtag liberty lovers and freedom fighters, if they start coming together and they're not fighting amongst each other, maybe the establishment will get a little bit more worried. Maybe they will start to tamp down some of their authoritarianism. Who knows? But at least it's worth a try, and it's the best thing to do regardless.
Yep, for sure.
Right on. All right, well, might as well go ahead.
Go ahead. Yeah. No, I was just going to say I agree with you. Like, we need to stop the outward bickering. If there is bickering, we can settle it privately if you want to. If not, then just continue what you're doing and just not engage with that person you disagree with. If it's that at that point, like, it's why live through the stress of fucking fighting with each other anyways? Like, that's not, what's the point?
Well, that's what I know. That's my mentality some days. Like, shit, it's already hard enough to fight against the authoritarians, like, that are already our enemies. Like, I don't want enemies from people that are supposed to be like, holy crap, that's hard enough as it is.
It's fucking exhausting.
It is. It's like, yeah, there's too many. Anyways, yeah, I think we did a good job on this one. Like I say, we pretty much at the 3-hour mark. And like I said, I really appreciate you coming on and having this conversation, Greg. Actually, I will mention one other thing. Hopefully he does. He said he was doing exams, but there's a socialist on Twitter. He identifies as a socialist that wants to talk with me. So I'm hoping that maybe I can appeal to some of those lefties that are, I think they just need to think about some of these concepts a little bit better. Maybe have someone like myself chirping in their ear, like kind of planting some seeds, right? Because I think that's at the end of the day, because that's another thing. It's not just the right wingers that I want to appeal to and kind of bring into the fold of, you know, being promoters of liberty, but also the people on the left, or sorry, it should have been this way on left. But because, like I said, I recognize some of those people as well have some good intentions. They're just given the wrong information, and the media has failed them. The political class has failed them. Their educators have failed them. So they need people like us. They need people like Greg. They need people like Mark. They need lots of people out there that's, like I say, chirping in their ear and giving them something to actually think about. Because that's one thing about most people. Even if they don't adopt or accept what you say today, they're not going to forget what you said. They might lay in bed that night. It might be then. It could be on the weekend. Someone might say something that reminds them of the conversation you had. And it might. So anytime you get a chance to plant the seed, that's what I do. Doesn't mean it's going to sprout. Doesn't mean it's going to flourish. Might never have to water it again, but I'm at least going to try to plant the seed.
Yep, I agree. And like, I find when people complain about the government, their solution is more government. And I think that's the mentality we need to change. It's less government.
Sure.
Exactly. you don't fix your problems by adding more problems. So
no, exactly. No. Anyways, like I say, thanks again, Greg. Is there anything else that you want me other than this one that you want me to add into the link of the description?
No, just
other than the website.
No, just come to our website. Everything's basically there. You know, if you want to check out our YouTube channel, obviously click on our podcast and make sure you check out everybody else's, because we all have great ideas and we all are on the same page of, you know, what we feel needs to be fixed.
Right on. Well, thank you once again, Greg. I really appreciate it, and we'll talk to you again soon then, buddy.
No problem, man. Have a good night.
Take it easy, my friend.
You too, man.
All right, folks. So that was a great conversation. And like I say, even earlier on with the Mark thing, like I say, we still didn't quite get there yet. But hey, we dipped our toes in the water. And the fact that Mark was willing to actually engage, that once again, that at least we're prior to today, at least I can definitely say that we're a little bit closer. All right. And that and one step, even if it's a baby step, because once again, me and Mark, we're based on either ends of this country. We don't know each other from a hole in the ground. We don't know what our intentions are. And the only way to get to the point where we can maybe learn to trust each other and learn what each other are all about is to engage in these conversations. And the fact that Mark is still willing to do so, and so am I, like I say, it at least tells me that there is some good intentions. And, you know, maybe, like I say, maybe I can forgive some of the status stuff. And that's something I got to work on for myself. I know that 100%. I can't hold people to account for everything they've done in their past. I've done things in my past that I'm not happy or proud of. And we shouldn't be defined on our past, because we can change. We can adapt. We are humans. We have free will. We can do things differently. Even us old dogs can learn the odd new trick, right? I've been living proof of that an old dog, you can teach an old dog new tricks, but you're just going to have to hammer away a lot more. But anyways, like I say, I really appreciate the fact that Mark came on. Really glad that I had this great conversation with Greg. And like I say, thanks for all you folks that showed up and putting up with a 3-hour stream. Although, like I say, if you find it as engaging as I was, I'm pretty sure you enjoyed it as well. So everyone have yourself a great day. What's today? Thursday. Oh, no, today's Wednesday. So tomorrow I do have another. I'm going to be talking with that guy I was talking with earlier. And maybe you'll join me in that stream as well. It's Canadian Libertarian, and I love liberty.